Friday kind of kicks it all off, right? You got high school football. You have some college games on Friday. The NFL is on the weekend. The NCAA is on the weekend. Well, the NFL pulled a fast one on us, folks, and they gave us a football game on Thursday night. And I'd like to share with you a few of my thoughts about it. So I apologize that we jumped the gun. We couldn't wait. We opened the present on Christmas Eve, whatever. We we got it going, and boy, did we get it going, because that was just an incredible game last night. Absolutely loved it. And I want to talk about some of the things that I thought were really, really interesting here as we start the show. I'll just tell you this. If you're a football fan, if you're a football fan of the NFL, and I am, or a football fan of college football, and I'm a football fan of football, period. I have literally my whole life, from the time I came home from the hospital as a tiny infant, from it was Holy Cross Hospital up here in Salt Lake. My dad gave me a football, and so I went home, didn't know it, probably didn't hold the laces correctly when I was 4 minutes old. But so football has been with me my whole entire life. So I love it. It's great. Let me tell you about last night, what was so great about last night. First off, you had the best on display. The best. I mean, the best, period. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to go down probably before this is all over as the very best quarterback of all time. He just stays healthy, keeps this trajectory going. There's going to be he just does things that nobody does. And on the other side of the ball, they had another guy who, he was pretty good himself. He was the MVP last year. Lamar Jackson, man, he's exciting, and these guys are amazing. There's so many things that they did in the game that I just have to point out. But before we get any further, I just need to let you know, we're at the Smiths. We're here on 9th and 9th in Salt Lake. This is the Smiths, by the way, that I used to go to when I was a student at the University of Utah. In fact, Richie Smith, of course, from the Smith family, the namesake of the store, actually invited me to dinner. Not when I was at the U, but when I was leaving. And he's like, I just want to, because you couldn't, right? You couldn't mingle with the athletes. It was against the rules. It was an NCAA violation. So he invites me to dinner after I get drafted to go in the NFL, and he takes me to Lakai, which everyone knows, or most people should know. Very, very fine French dining, right? Beautiful place. And I'm from Springville, okay? I'm just a small town kid. I don't know which fork to start with. I'm so nervous. This place is so fancy. And anyways, an incredible meal. But he told me something I thought was really interesting. And he said, when you get in the NFL, people are going to come at you. You're a target. You have money. Everyone's going to tell you they got the best deal for you in the world. And he says, I will just tell you right now. So I'm a 22-year-old kid at Lakai restaurant with the namesake of Smith's grocery stores, which I'm at right now. And he says, tell everybody no. Just tell everyone no. You don't have any money. Your money's invested. You don't, you can't get to whatever, but just tell everyone no. Like without exception. There are not truer words spoken than what Richie Smith told me at Lakai those many years back. So
You
I love.
follow his advice?
Yeah, sure. I followed it. I'm a living example of being able to say no, James, by the way.
You're a no man.
And I'm also a living example of saying yes. And
Okay.
And guess what? He was absolutely right. Anytime I said yes, I got burned. No question about it. like I was burned. But you're not going to get burned when you come down here to Smith's. They got all your tailgating needs. They make fresh food. You can go pick it up, take it with you already made, or you can cook it yourself. They got all the beverages you love to have when you're out and about a tailgating or whatever. It's time for the weekend to start. There's no better place to start it than Smith's. So come on down. All right, so back to the game. And what was great about this game and these players, and I hope you can appreciate this. First of all, these defenses were exceptional and are exceptional. They're two of the best defenses in the NFL. So you've got really good defenses, but it's fun to watch these quarterbacks who are so good and how hard it was for the quarterbacks to play. And it's hard because the defenses are really good, but they still found enough offense. They still found enough big plays to really have a game come down to, I mean, it wasn't even a toe. It was half a toe. The guy is out of the back of the end zone. So it's really, really sad, right? It's really sad that, someone has to lose that game. I was actually on the radio this morning and I was asked about Lamar Jackson and is he to blame for this loss? That he missed a couple of wide open guys, and it's like, man, Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson's not in the game, they're not there in the end, and that's all you want in the NFL is an opportunity to win at the end. So many of these games are so close, and it was on display in just such an incredible way, and I love that. I love that about the NFL, and I hope that you can appreciate this. How great this game was last night, and how, oh my goodness, how you should be excited about the 270 plus games remaining in the NFL season. You're going to see a lot of really, really good play. You're going to see some young quarterbacks, some of them that we know well here in former Pac-12 country, who are rookies who are going to start. And of course, C.J. Stroud, who started against our Utes in the Rose Bowl and was just tremendous. So a lot of really good quarterbacks, but a lot of really good players in general in the NFL, and you saw that these defenses were exceptional. But the other thing that was really, really fascinating to me is you've got great coaches. I mean, Andy Reid, oldest coach in the NFL, he's 66 years old, which I thought was interesting. And John Harbaugh, surprisingly, is the second oldest coach in the NFL at 61 years old.
Is he really?
Yeah, second oldest coach.
Dang.
Let's see.
I did not realize
Pete
that.
Carroll was up there and somebody else, and they are not coaching this year. So these are the grumpy grandpa coaches now that you have in the NFL. But the point about it, James, that I think was interesting is how well these teams are coached. And when you have all of that experience, you have play that you can just kind of go to a different place with. You can ad lib, and they kind of coach it into you that they realize, hey, sometimes the other guy wins, and we've got to figure out an ingenious way, and sometimes it's just on the fly to make a play happen. And you saw it on both sides of the ball a lot. Like, it wasn't once or twice. It was magical, and so much of that comes from the coaches. You'll get a coach that just goes, this is my system. We're going to run my system. I don't care what you say. And that's it, right? And so these coaches are smart enough, flexible enough to go, I have some unique talents here. I have Lamar Jackson, who is as unique a talent and one of the top guys really in the NFL. And one of the things Lamar Jackson has really, really refined is his ability to throw the football. And he knows that too, because who wants to get hit by these defensive guys all the time? You don't. And it'll wear down, it'll shorten your career. So learning to kind of minimize those opportunities and be able to throw the ball like consistently, because Patrick Mahomes is not a running quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is not a dual threat quarterback. He's a smart quarterback. He's a dude playing shortstop at quarterback. I mean, he's got range. He moves around.
What's amazing about Mahomes is he shows the ability to be able to scramble for that first down, 15 yards,
right?
When he has to, right? Because it's kind of almost like Ben Roethlisberger at the time. You look at him and you're like, well, that guy's not fast. That guy's not necessarily. Roethlisberger was hard to tackle.
What do you say, James? Us tall guys aren't fast. Are you profiling tall people?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Scott Mitchell, he's not fast, But you look at him. But then when the chips are down, so to speak, and nobody's open, and there's running lane, and you need a first down in the fourth quarter or whatever it might be, they get it done. You saw Roethlisberger do that a lot, and he definitely is a guy that you look at him and you're like, that guy's gonna be hard to tackle. But Mahomes, you look at him and you're like, he doesn't look very fast. He doesn't look like he's that hard to tackle, but he's elusive and he's able to do those timely runs, even though you say enough there where it's like, yeah, maybe he is a running quarterback, but then you watch him and you're like, he's not really a running quarterback, though. It's fascinating to watch Mahomes do that kind of stuff.
No, and a very, very astute observation there, James.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
I
but
try.
also, no, it's good. But also, when you have a coach that kind of gives you that freedom, when you understand the game well enough, you understand the situation you're in. Lamar Jackson certainly ran a lot more later in that game last night when the game was on the line. So when you know your system, you kind of know the circumstance, you're able to read the defense. Because I'll just tell you, sometimes the defensive guys win. Like everyone's good. I mean, that's why these games are always so close. As good as these players are, everyone on that field is really good. In fact,
Is that something you only admit after you've been retired for a while, Scott?
Oh, no. No, that was day one, page
Day one.
That was one of the people go, so what are your first impressions of the NFL? I'm like, everybody's good at every position. You're a kid growing up and you start playing football and it's like, okay, you start with the quarterback and who can throw the football, and you're the quarterback. Even if you're not the best athlete, sometimes you just put the best athlete at quarterback, and it's even better if they can throw and they're the best athlete. But the offense and defensive linemen are just they're afterthoughts in a lot of cases. They're just the non-athletic kids you just throw on line because they're the biggest kids, and not that way in the NFL. Not that way at all. I mean, these defense and offensive linemen are extremely talented, and that's my point. Is that to see someone like a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes, and to see them make the really, really good players, I don't want to say look foolish, but they're able to beat them. That's a really special, really, really special player. But their coaches they don't coach it out of them. They coach it into them. They give them that flexibility and that freedom. A lot of the plays, a lot of the throws down the field were not the initial designed routes. And it's just beautiful when you watch guys that can do that. And I'll just tell you watch these young rookie quarterbacks, they will never come close to really understanding how to ad-lib. Like most of them just, it's like they understand here's step one and step two, and that's kind of the end of it. But beyond that, they just don't have a concept of how to just play football, and so having that IQ, having it off the charts like these two teams and these two quarterbacks have, is something really special. And I just hope people really, really appreciate it. Okay.
Well, and that, Scott, real quick before you move on, that game you had to have loved that game last night because of that quarterback play, right? A former quarterback like yourself, there's such different styles, but that's got to make it fun for a former quarterback like you to watch those two clashes of styles and them just being great all game long, right?
So a lot of people ask, who do you cheer for in the NFL? Do you watch the NFL? Do you cheer for your old teams? And there's a part of you that does, but a lot of it is the organizations have changed a lot. The players you played with, the coaches that were there, they're not there anymore, so you're kind of pulling for your old teammates and what have you. But so for me, it's not so much. I'm curious. I hope the Dolphins figure out a way out of, a long drought of not being a team. Looks like they're headed in the right direction. You always have to pull for the Detroit Lions. A lot of people picking the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year. Dan Campbell has just really turned all that around. So okay, fine. There's a little interest there. Little interest with the Cincinnati Bengals, only because I was there for 2 years and had to endure that experience. I'll just say there's certain things that you go through in your career that you wish you didn't, but you're proud of yourself that you did and you got through it. And Cincinnati might have been one of those, and they've really changed as an organization from when I was playing. But really, for me, James, what I like to watch, man, I love to watch great quarterback play. This is a quarterback league, and like it or not, the rules are designed for interesting, offensive, explosive football. You look at how players are paid these days, and wide receiver and tight end and quarterback are big ticket items. The running game, the running backs have been marginalized, and it's not like, oh, you gotta have that foundation of that really good running back, to build your team around. Now, some guys, Derrick Henry, of course, a great running back, and there's some great ones in the league, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, a lot of really good guys, a lot of good guys that maybe aren't as big a name. Breece Hall, with the Jets. I mean, there's a lot of good guys, but it's a quarterback league, and so I love that play. I understand it. I've lived there. I've been there. I've breathed it. I've had to make those decisions. I've had to, be under the crucible of what it is to be an NFL quarterback, and no other place I'd rather be. So it's really fun for me to watch and to be that. All right. I have a story. I wanted to tell a story today, and it really stems from.
Tell me a story, Scott. I'm ready
okay,
for
I'm
it.
going to tell you a story. It stems from kind of where I fell in love with football, like where it all started. Very unique experience for me, an opportunity. And last night I had a chance to talk to some little kids who are starting their football journey, and they're like 6, right? They're in the first grade, So how do you talk to kids that are 6 and have them pay attention, whatever? And they all got a football, and I signed the football for them, and I told them about my first chance to get a football like they got. And so this is a story I'm going to tell you. And when I was in the 3rd grade, my dad came home and he said, Scott, would you like to go to Houston, Texas, and watch the Houston Oilers play the Pittsburgh Steelers? This was 1978. And I'm like, let's go. First time I'm on an airplane, we fly to Houston, Texas. We actually make national news because we had to emergency land because our plane was on fire. This is the first time I've ever been in an airplane. And we get to Houston, Texas, and I go to practice the day before the game, so I get to go in the locker room. My dad did some work for Gifford Nielsen, who was a great quarterback at BYU and, of course, played for the Oilers for 6 years. And Gifford was my childhood hero. And so I go to this practice, and I get to go in the locker room, meet the players. I met Earl Campbell and Bum Phillips and, the coach and Dan Pastorini and Billy White Shoes Johnson and just Carl Mock, who was the center, and all these great players. They have Elvin Bethea on defense, and you just go on and on. And so we go to this game, and they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is the Steel Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers. This is Terry Bradshaw and Franco and Joe Green and Jack Lamb. I mean, the whole crew. And so I go to this game, and it was a bloodbath. And after the game, I got a football. And it was an actual NFL game football, and it was signed. And I swore on my life that I would never touch that football. Like, it was going to go on the shelf, and it was my prized possession. And within 2 days, I had that football out in the street. I was kicking it over the lilac bushes in my yard trying to make field goals, and I had scuffed it up and just beat the heck out of it.
You lasted 2 days on your lifelong promise.
That's all I lasted, 2 days.
It's amazing.
I know. Hey, by the way, you're listening to ESPN 700. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in. Anyways, so I still have the football, James. I never lost it, but it's worn out.
Is it on display looking like the Babe Ruth ball on Sandlot? Is it kind of like that?
It looks like that.
Okay.
It has that same appearance. It's just not on display.
Okay.
It's on display in my heart. See, when you get
in your
older,
heart, yeah.
Well, let me tell you the evolution of things. So when you're playing sports and what have you, and it's kind of a big part of your life, you have a room. And the room is the I Love Scott room, right? And so it's so the football would be displayed there. A lot of things are displayed there. But then as you get older, then it's like a hallway, right? So you get a couple pictures in a hallway in your house. Then it's a wall. Then it's a shelf. Then it's your kids just play with all the stuff, and it just goes away because you become very, very less important as your life goes on. So that's kind of the evolution of all your stuff, and but the memory lives on in your heart. So I tell you this story because these kids, last night, I gave them this football, and I said, I want you to remember this football, and I want you to remember it for this reason. When I was a little kid, someone asked me what I wanted to do in my life, and of course, after going to Houston, Texas, I'm like, well, I'm going to be a professional football player. And someone said, no, you can never be a professional football player. You're from Springville, Utah. No one's ever done that. And I just believed it. And
in their faces, Scott, in their faces today, right?
I literally wrote that as my career choice when I was in the sixth grade. So I told these kids, remember this football, scuff it up, play with it, but have it as a reminder that nobody can take away your football dreams. And really quick here, I want to share this because I love this from Tom Brady when he was inducted into the New England Patriots Hall of Fame, and I loved his comment. I know James has a clip of it, and I want you all to hear it.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach, and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2 days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle, and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way. And my advice is to prepare yourself, because football lessons teach us that success and achievement come from overcoming adversity, and that team accomplishment far exceeds anyone's individual goals.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. Look, I love football, and everyone should play it. It is Football Friday. You do learn so much about yourself. If you really want success in your life, dig in, stay committed, always remember your football, live your dreams, don't let anyone deny it, and that's where we're going to go with this thing. All right, so great start here. By the way, the show today and the show every day is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Les Schwab has the tires, wheels, and accessories for whatever you drive. Stop by your local Les Schwab today, and their professionals will get you the job right the first time. I think before we go on break here, there's less than a month with the Bees. So if you want tickets, this is what you got to do. You're going to text Bees to 33986 for a chance to win. Love the Bees. Oh, man, love the Bees. Love going to the game.
And, Scott, it's not just the end of this season, the last chance to do it this season in the next couple weeks. It's the end of the Bees at Smith's Ballpark.
It is.
So take advantage and text the Bees to 33986.
Yes. Very good. It's an end of an era. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes, and my good friend joins us next. This is ESPN 792.1, Utah's #1 sports talk and the home of the Utes.
That one was just kind of wanky from the beginning. So 30 seconds. Utah still with 2 full timeouts. And 2nd down and 10 at the USC 46-yard line.
Yeah, I don't know that I wouldn't not take another shot here with a wide receiver on the outside, because the way USC's playing their defense, they have the corners rolled up at the line of scrimmage, but those safeties are kind of not getting in their deep half coverage, and that throw, again, is open that they threw to Theo Howard earlier.
Devon Vele is awfully athletic and awfully fast. 3-wide look, now 4-wide look, with Mekhi Bernard in the backfield on 2nd down and 10. Rising takes and gives and keeps and goes straight ahead and picks up nothing. That lost half a yard. Wow. Utah takes a timeout. Wow. Wow is right. So Utah has a third and about 10.5 here. 1 timeout remaining from the SC 47-yard line. They're 2 of 4 on 3rd down here in the first half. 2 receivers left, 2 receivers right. TJ Pledger, the back of the backfield here. SC's going to rush just 4. Let's see if Utah can give Cam Rising some time. Here we go. Lots of time. Now scrambles and throws over the middle. He's got Pledger. TJ still on his feet and down to about the 36-yard line, right at first down yardage. 4th and half a yard. Not even half a yard here for Utah. Really, the length of the football is what they need. They're at about the 36. And in a football, they need just the 36. 17 seconds before halftime. Utah leading at 14-10. No timeouts remaining here for Utah. Cam Rising, TJ Pledger.
I don't like the shotgun in this situation.
You take a shot down the field here, Scott. No safety over the top right now on a pass play. Rising. And what do we have? Timeout taken by SC.
Oh.
Their last timeout. 17 seconds, Scott. SC now uses their last timeout. Would you dare fake the dive, fake the handoff, fake the fly sweep, and take a shot down the field with, and Devon Vele is your most athletic wide receiver. Maybe you give him a shot.
I mean, you know, you could possibly do this. The question is, let's say you get the first down and you're at about the 35-yard line. Can you kick a field goal? So the question, I think, is which one do you feel more likely to get, a long field goal or a 50-50 shot in the end zone?
So Vele splits wide to the right, Covey in the left slot. 4th and half a yard here. Now SC backs the safety out a little bit. 7 in the box. 4th and half a yard, Covey in motion. Handoff, nope, play action. Flea flicker, down the middle. He's got a man open in the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Touchdown! Touchdown, Devon Vele! They use the flea flicker for 6 and a Utah touchdown!
I'll tell you, for a team that likes to run the ball a lot, they're sure throwing the heck out of it here tonight.
What a pass, and Vele behind the defense for 6. Devon Vele's first Utah touchdown. What a spot for it. The San Diego native got himself behind the safety, and Cam Rising put it on the money. And with 10 seconds remaining here in the half, Utah 21 and USC 10. The only thing I would say coming out of the locker room, USC really in a position now where they've got nothing to lose. Season's in the balance. If I'm Utah on special teams right now, I'm keeping my eyes open here for an onside kick, because when you're playing with nothing to lose, the coach knows he's not likely going to be the guy next year. SC's down 11. They've got to do something to shake it up. I'd keep an eye on it right here, and I think Utah is. They've got a lot of guys up right now. Parker Lewis has it teed up at his own 35-yard line now. Utah with 6 up within about 15 yards of the ball. Lewis approaches, puts his right foot into it, and he'll kick it deep and away. Covey's going to back up and catch it 5 yards deep. Call it a touchback, and Utah will begin 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. Well, the recipe to beat Utah, or to beat USC this year, has been to run the football, but Utah didn't run it all that much in that first half, Scott. They ran it okay. They aired it out. They beat them through the air with Cam Rising.
Well, in USC, you got to play to whatever the defense is doing. USC was crowding the line of scrimmage, and they were really saying, we're going to stop Utah running the ball. We don't think. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. Sean actually will be back a little bit later today. We're going to have a fun discussion about a lot of things. Got a lot more fun things to happen here in the show. And I'm just going to tell you right now, by the way, if you want the NFL, you got it last night. Boy, did you get it in spades. I know someone who's the guest on the show now. He's a happy camper today. But tonight, the Rio game between the Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles is at 6 o'clock, and you hear it right here on ESPN 792.1 FM. All right, right now we're bringing in none other than the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, who is brought to you by Advanced Window Products. Mr. Riley, welcome to the show. This is awkward. This is different. It's not awkward. I'm excited. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning because I knew that I got to ask you all the questions instead of the other way around. How are you, Bill?
I'm good. This is like when I used to come on your nighttime show when you were over on KSL with Alex, and you used to grill me with a bunch of questions. Now
That's right.
It's like tomorrow I get to fire them all at you and Sly, and today you get to grill me.
I know. A lot of fun. Hey, really quick, I know you're a Chiefs fan. Just your quick thoughts about last night's game and just some impressions from that.
For a first game, I thought it was good. Baltimore's really, really good. Kansas City, I thought, played well till the second half of the fourth quarter. The defense kind of got worn down a little bit. Mahomes made the one mistake. He had 2 touchdown passes drop. That wheel route that he threw to the running back, and then he hit Juju on the hands at the goal line. But Xavier Worthy, man, that guy is fast. Rashee Rice looks really good. And they still, Hollywood Brown hasn't even played yet because he's out till next week. So I thought it was, like you said, Scott, there's a reason the NFL is undefeated and it's the most popular sport. Last night's game had everything you wanted, and then it's decided because a guy's wears a size 15 instead of a size 12. That's really the difference in the game. And John Harbaugh was going to go for 2 last night, so that would have been unbelievable too. It was just great. Now, I'm not sure why they're in Brazil tonight. I have no idea why they've decided to fly to Brazil to play a game. But, hey, they're playing in Brazil tonight, and it will get great viewership. And you know this. You and I love college football, and we love the atmosphere and the pageantry of college football. But the product on the field, it doesn't matter if you're the number 1 team like the Chiefs or the 32nd team. The NFL is just awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess someone in the hierarchy, someone in Roger Goodell's office, their ego is just spewing and fuming, and they're trying to figure out, how is this darn soccer thing bigger in the world than us? Like, how could anything be bigger than us? And I think, because you think of, Brazil is kind of a soccer haven, and of course, there's the Euro League in England, and so clearly the football minds are going, how are we're going to try to compete with soccer around the world? Maybe that's the reason. Tomorrow, Bill, the Utah Utes play the Baylor Bears. Of course, we're going to be there. Can't wait for it. I'm super excited about this game as I was last week, and really I'm going to be excited about every game. This is weird. It's awkward because it's a conference opponent, but it's not a conference opponent, but it kind of feels like it's a conference opponent. Tell me first about what do you think we know right now about this Utah team after week 1?
I think we know that they're talented, and we know that Cam is back to looking like Cam, and Keithy's healthy, and they've got a lot of weapons. I think we know more about what they have, but not how it will translate. And I'll say that a little bit about the defense, too. I think if you ask me today, I feel like I know more about the offense than the defense. And maybe that's just proof of performance from years gone by with Cam and Keithy and those guys. But the defense really was not tested last week. Southern Utah did nothing. They didn't attempt to do anything. They didn't have elite athletes. That's not to say I don't think the Utah defense is good. But I think if you ask me about the two, I feel like I know a little bit more and feel a little bit better about the offense right now. And I think the defense will be tested a lot more tomorrow because Baylor's got athletes and Baylor's got dudes and Baylor's got a really good guy that's proven that he's pretty good, at least on the MAC level at quarterback. So I feel like I know more about the offense, and I think we'll learn more tomorrow about the defense.
What do you think is the meaning of this game? It's a non-conference game. If it wasn't in the Big 12 conference, if the opponent wasn't a Baylor type of team, does it have the same meaning? And this is really Utah's first game against a conference opponent in the Big 12, even though it's not a conference game, or is it just another non-conference game against a good opponent? What's the meaning you think of this game?
Well, I think the meaning's more for Utah. They're testing themselves now against that next level of opponent. And I don't think it's even the next level. I think it's probably 2 levels up from where SUU was because, again,
Right.
It's not a group of 5 school. That's next week when they play Utah State. This is probably a couple levels up because while Baylor's been not very good the last couple of years, they still have athletes and they still have dudes that can make plays. And they brought in 22 transfers. And they did exactly what Utah did last week. They were at home against a lesser opponent, and they hammered them. I mean, Utah did exactly what it was supposed to do against SUU, and I think Baylor kind of did the same thing, though. I've watched some of that game, Scott, and they played their starters a little bit later in the game than Utah did, but
Right.
they still did exactly the same thing. So I think this is the next test that you want if you're Utah. And because Baylor has got dudes, and it's also going to be a little bit of a desperate Baylor team, I think, too. Dave Aranda, I was talking about this with somebody the other day. You and I both know this. What does it say about a team or a program when the coach takes back play calling duties, whether it's offensive or defensive? When a head coach says, I'm going to call the plays, that's desperation. That means you're in a pretty tough spot. You didn't have a guy that you trusted to do it. So, and that's what Dave Aranda's done at Baylor. So I think there's a little bit of a desperation because they were 6-7, then they were 3-9. Well, he did go 12-1, but that wasn't 10 years ago. It was 4 years ago, but it seems like it was 10 years ago if you're a Baylor fan.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question. What does it mean about Dave Aranda? And as you said it, I was like, it's almost like Daniel Boone pick up a rifle at the Alamo. All hands on deck. This thing's going down. It does have a bit of that desperation feel for it, for sure. Okay, I had a poll question today,
Okay.
and I because I'm thinking about the game and kind of like, how much do you show? How much don't you show? What do you need to show if you're Utah? Because clearly, all efforts right now really need to gear towards you got to be hitting the ground 100% full speed when you go to Boone Pickens Stadium in Oklahoma State for that conference opener. So the poll question is, how much do you show a team like Baylor in this game? Do you and the answer or the choices are: do you just stay vanilla? Do you throw the kitchen sink? Whatever it takes to win the game. Or are you somewhere kind of, well, let's have a little bit of balance. Let's try to, maybe we'll show a little blitz and some movement in the secondary and maybe we'll try to establish the run and be balanced on offense. Of those 3 choices, which one do you think, what do you think Utah should do? How much should they show Baylor and also future opponents with their playbooks this week?
Can I give one more option?
Yeah, it's you, Bill. You can do whatever you want.
Well, I don't want to screw up the poll question too much, but I think you showed exactly what you need to show. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I think you show enough, meaning I think you're going to have to show more than you did. I don't think you could be vanilla like you were against SUU. I just don't think so. I think Baylor's better. And I think somebody, I think it was Spence that asked me this earlier this week, what I thought. And I thought, Andy showed them a lot last week without showing them a lot, if that makes sense. He showed them a lot from a personnel standpoint, but not a lot from a play calling standpoint. Because he's got so much personnel, he showcased a lot of guys last week in that win, but I don't think that he showcased it by getting too exotic. I think this week, both Morgan and Andy will probably have to get a little bit more exotic than they were a week ago. And they'll probably use the same personnel and on offense. Andy, we didn't even see Landon King or much of Damian Alford, some of those other guys. So I think you might see the players, a few more players involved, but I think the playbook probably evolves a little bit. But I think you're going to do just enough to get the job done without getting too exotic.
Andy Ludwig has got to feel like a kid in a candy store, right? Because he has so many options to work with. I mean, just the tight ends alone, the different combinations, the variations that you can do with that group. You have the wide receivers, and now you have this Dejon Stanley, who I think could emerge as a new star on this team. It was interesting listening to Kyle on Monday, and he was a little tempered, Dijon Stanley, and I'm curious your thoughts on is this a breakout guy happening, or is he a one-hit wonder? What are your thoughts on Dijon Stanley?
Well, I think it's somebody they want to use. I think he's got a definite skill set and athleticism, but if he's able to replicate this week, and I'm not saying 2 wheel route touchdowns, but meaning if he's productive, if he carries it 4 or 5 times and gives us 3 or 4 catches again this week, I think that he's a weapon. It's one thing to do it against a 1AA program. It's another thing to do it against a Power 4 program. So I think if we see Dijon Stanley involved again this week, like I said, he's probably not going to have 3 grabs for 150 yards. But if he's involved again this week, that tells you, okay, this is a guy that they can do it. He's not a one-hit wonder. He's definitively part of what Utah wants to do, because he is a little bit of a matchup problem, because they can line him up in different places. They can motion him like they did last week. And his speed and athleticism, we saw Andy Reid's the master of this, and Andy Ludwig's not bad at it either. You know this. When you motion a guy out, you use that motion to set up matchups or to use as tells to see what the defense is doing.
Right.
If you're motioning him out and you get him lined up on a linebacker, well, that's going to be a win every time, because there's not a linebacker in the country, even the best linebackers, that are going to be able to run with Dijon Stanley. So I think that, talking to Kyle on the coach's show the other day, I think they like him a lot, and they had a package for him last week. I'd be surprised if they don't have a package for him this week too.
I was just so excited about him, and as you're talking about, it's SUU, and he succeeded against it. It was like one game, it was a couple of plays. It reminded me of when the first time I got in the NFL and Coach Shula goes, and I completed a pass, and it was a big moment in the game, and then I came over to the sideline and I called my family and said, I've just won the Super Bowl for the Miami Dolphins, and Coach Shula on the bus just said, hey, it was just one kid, relax, or one play kid, just relax, and he just kind of crushed my world. So I guess the jury's still out on Dijon Stanley. Tell me, what do you think? What do you want to see? What do you need to see from this team? What improvement do you need to see from last week?
For me, just because SUU didn't really test them, I'd like to see that secondary. I'd like to see, especially now that we know Kenan Johnson's out for the year, Zemiah Vaughn, we kind of know what Zemiah is, but, whether it's, Scooby Davis, Elijah Davis, or Teo Johnson or Smith Snowden, I think they're going to give Scooby the look out there and see what he can do, because, they love Smith Snowden in that slot, and they like Teo at the state. There's a reason they moved those guys there. Now, those guys could be moved out, but I think they're going to – I just want to see, because I think Baylor's going to – they've got athletes now, and their receivers can run. They've got good speed on the outside. I want to see how that secondary kind of holds up against some shot plays, because I think Baylor will take some shot plays. You and I saw it. I mean, SUU didn't. They wanted their check. They wanted to be healthy, and they wanted to get home to Cedar City. On the offensive side, I want to see, can they run it a little bit? They didn't really run it much. And I'm okay if they want to throw it, but I think when they do run it, can that line of scrimmage be established up front? And, I'd like to see Damian Alford. I'd like to see Landon King. I'd like to see them continue to spread the ball around a little bit and get some of those guys involved.
I think Elijah Davis will. It makes the most sense because he played, and it seemed like he played pretty decent. He made a really athletic read and play, and you love when guys can make plays, and so I'm sure he'll probably get the first shot at it, or I would think so. But there's a good list of those cornerbacks that can come in and fill, which is one of the great things about the depth of this team. There's a lot of capable players at all positions. I've been hearing some stuff, from Baylor folks, and just kind of doing my research this week for the game, whatever. And they're like, Utah is Utah really? Are they really up to the hype? And I have to imagine that a lot of these traditional Big 12 teams like the Kansas State and Oklahoma State. I would think it maybe rubs them a little wrong that Utah just comes in and hasn't played it down in the conference ever, and they're automatically the chosen team. How do you think that perception is around the conference with this game this week and maybe moving forward? Are you going to see a lot of, angst and attitude with other teams because of this, maybe some jealousy of Utah?
I think that's more of a fan base thing. Okay. I really do. I think that's a message board and fan base thing. It wasn't like Utah came from the Mountain West or from the AAC. I mean, they won back-to-back Pac-12 championships and went to 2 Rose Bowls. I mean, they played in a power league that you could make a case was as good or maybe slightly better at times than the Big 12 was. So I think coaches realize, what's the old saying? Ball recognizes ball, talent recognizes talent. I think the coaches know it and see it, and I think the players probably see it a little bit too. But I think that's more of a fan base message board Twitter thing than it is among the fans. I mean, I think we'll see it when we go to places like Stillwater and other places from the fans, but I think the players, I don't think it's as big a deal. At least I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I don't think it's as big a deal with the players and coaches.
Hey, Bill, I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I've really enjoyed. I enjoy being on the other side of this.
You sound comfortable. It sounds like the old. It sounds like Scott Mitchell's got the reps back again. You sound good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, just riding that bicycle. I understand, of course, your presence on the show is brought to us by Advanced Window Products.
Yes.
Do you have anything you'd like to tell us about Advanced Windows?
I do. Well, first of all, they're great dudes. Nate Orchard, who we all know and love, the mayor emeritus of Sac Lake City. It's he's one of the owners over there. Jake's over there. Dave Orchard's over there. I mean, they're good people and they're local. That's the thing. There's a lot of companies that do windows. These guys are local and 36 years in business. They back up every one of their products with 100% warranty and guarantee. If you don't like what you got, they'll fix it. And the other thing is everything's made here. They don't outsource it anywhere. So when they come out and measure your house for window, door, blinds, treatments, all that stuff, it's all done right here. And so you can just call up Advanced Windows and check on your products. And they've been, like I said, they back it up with the warranty and the satisfaction guarantee. And I'm always a big proponent. I don't know about you, Scott, but I like to support local businesses. I 100%. Like to support restaurants and businesses and everything in our community. And these are people we know and do great work in our community. And, by the way, their product's good, too. I've used them. They've done stuff for my house. I know other people that have used them, too. So I just can't say enough good things about Advanced Window Products. And in a day and age where you want to support people in your own backyard because they provide jobs and stuff for our community, go out and see them. Call them up. Talk to Nate. Talk to Jake. Talk to all of them. And they'll come out to your house, and you'll get that great customer service. You can go find their website, advancedwindowsusa.com, or give them a call. But they're just good people who provide a great service and product. So I can't recommend their business enough. And, again, you can support a great Utah player, much like Scott Mitchell was a great. Nate Orchard was a great, too, and he's just such a good dude. So Advanced Window Products, they bring this segment every week that I do with Sean and you, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I look forward. Thank you so much, Bill. Check out Advanced Window Products. They are great. They're actually doing some windows for me. I'll get you early in the morning tomorrow, Bill, but appreciate your time today.
All right, see you, Scott.
All right. Hey, by the way, folks, Def Leppard is coming to UFCU Amphitheater on September 10th. I'll be there. Listen to The Drive with Spence Checketts all week for your chance to win a pair of tickets. Details on ESPN 700sports.com. You're listening to ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk and your home of the Utes.
Ball security so far been good for Utah here today. Let's see if they can keep it up here in the second half. Minute and a half gone by, 1st and 10. Thomas stays in the ball game. 2 tight ends to the left, 2 receivers to the right. USC creeping near the line of scrimmage. Rising changes the play, 4 on the play clock. Now he turns and gives play action look. Rising looking down the field, throwing the deep out, and it's caught! Devon Bailey into USC territory and out of bounds at the Trojan 43-yard line. That's a pitch and catch of 15 yards.
And this is that chunk play down the field. You go run, play action, boom. And great throw by Cam because he got to throw it over a guy. And that makes you a little bit nervous, but he just drops it right in that bread basket right there. And excellent throw right there by Cam.
For the first time this year, Utah's got a 200-yard passer. 204 yards here for Cam Rising. 1st and 10 for the SC 43-yard line. Turning to give again this time. TJ Pledger, second level. He's got the 30. There he goes! 10-5, touchdown! 43 yards into the open field and into the end zone for TJ Pledger.
So great run here. Tavion Thomas was just amazing here on this run. I mean, and it was great up front. I mean, USC sold out to the run and found a hole. Was very, very patient. Good to see him back in the game there because he was really in the doghouse. I wonder what house he's going to be in now.
Yeah, that was Tavion Thomas, not TJ Pledger. My apologies. It was 9, not 5, but it was 6 for scoring. And a point after touchdown up and good. It's a Pepsi touchdown, and Utah now leads it 28-10 with 12:41 to play here in the third quarter. We're back with more after this. Second half of Utah football being brought to you by the University of Utah and Utah Health. Get that same great care the Utes trust. Visit uofuhealth.org/Utes. 18-point lead for Utah. It took them 2 minutes and 29 seconds to put that drive together. 5 plays, 75 yards. Tavion Thomas going 43. The reason I thought it was TJ Pledger, I haven't seen Tavion Thomas run that fast.
I get it. I understand.
He's about 235, 240 yards, and he pulled away from that secondary.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a lot of him in a while, but early on in this third quarter, you're seeing Tavion Thomas. And really, Utah has a nice staple of running backs that are emerging. I'm just so glad Tavion is a talent. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show. I am Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. Having a fun day so far. A lot of people to talk to. Before we get too far into the weeds here, let's get a poll update. We have a poll on Twitter. And so, James, take it away. Tell us who is leading the poll right now.
Yeah, just to remind everyone, the poll we have is how much should Utah show Baylor on offense tomorrow at Rice-Eccles Stadium? And your choices are stay vanilla like you did against SUU, throw the kitchen sink or whatever it takes, and or just be balanced. Whatever it is, just be balanced. That's the one winning, Scott, 69%.
Okay. People
just want to see balance, and then throw the kitchen sink is second at 19%, then stay vanilla at 11.5%.
Right.
It seems to me that fans are saying, okay, you can't be completely vanilla like against SUU because we're talking about that was against an FCS opponent. This is against a Power 4 opponent, excuse me. So balanced is winning the day so far.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because this is like a non-conference conference opponent. You know, someone's trying to make a statement in this game. You know, Baylor maybe wants to retaliate from a year ago. They want to welcome the Utes into the conference. And so if you're Utah, it's like you want to kind of make a nice impression your first outing. So do you do whatever it takes to win this game? That's kind of the kitchen sink to me. I don't know. I think it's important for the psyche of the team and to make a statement in the conference in general that Utah does well and wins this game. Really quick, I know we got to go to break here, but we'll talk about it later. I'll just tease it, and we'll bring it up in a different part of the show here. Have you ever wondered why all these people hang around the head coach on the sideline? I have some really interesting, fascinating insight.
I actually have wondered that, Scott. So I'm
Well,
excited
I'm going to tell you, James.
I'm excited for the when you can bring it in next hour.
And not only am I going to tell you, I'm going to tell you how I made money because I stood next to the head coach one time. So very fascinating stuff, and it makes me laugh when I see this on the sidelines, and it's more so in NFL games than it is in college. Because I don't think anyone wants to stand next to Coach Whittingham, right? Because that's a bad deal. Want to remind you folks, ESPN 700 is happy to support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Out of the Darkness Walk, which is happening on September 7th. That's tomorrow at the Veterans Memorial Park in West Jordan at 10 a.m. For more details, visit espnsports.com. Check it out. All right, this is the Sean O'Connell Show. And by the way, folks, we are here at Smith's on 9th and 9th. Come in, get all your tailgating needs. They make it fresh. They can make stuff you can eat right out of the box right now. They always have great samples here. All your beverages, everything you need to kind of get your weekend going and the way you like it. So make sure you stop by Smith's. They also have a Ute store. You know that? You can get Ute gear here. They got a place to hang out.
That's
all that good stuff.
That's the Utes location on 9th and 9th. Yes.
It is. Yeah, right here. So if you need anything Utes related, come to Smith's on 9th and 9th. We're going to be here all day, so we're happy to do it. We're going to take another break here. We come back. We got Haley Berry from Ute Nation talking about none other than the Utes. This is ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. This is Utah's #1 sports talk. We'll catch you in a bit. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show. I am not Sean O'Connell. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean. So happy to be here, by the way. I really appreciate the folks at Broadway Media for giving me this opportunity. I love sports, love to talk about them, love to live them, and we just keep marching on here, so thank you so much. Right now, we, of course, have our Ute Insider, which is brought to you by Metro Elevator. Do you live or work in a building with an elevator that just doesn't seem to cooperate and just loves to inconvenience you on a regular basis? Do your property or building manager a favor and tell them to call Metro Elevators, Utah's preferred vertical transportation experts. 801-946-7003. That's 801-946-7003. And, of course, today's Ute Insider segment with Haley Berry of Ute Nation is also part of Big 12 at noon, brought to you by Mountain Land Supply. Go to mountainlandsupply.com. All right, joining us on the program right now is Haley Berry, Ute Nation reporter. Haley, welcome to the show. I've never met you. I know nothing about you, but I feel like we're long-lost friends. How are you, and welcome to the show.
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on, and it's nice to meet you and to come back on the show and talk some Utah football.
Let's talk. Okay, so I kind of want to go down the line of recruiting, but not so much like tell me the ins and outs of like which recruits or everything. We're going to talk about the game and all that, but I have some questions about kind of Utah's in a new conference, right? They're playing a conference opponent, which isn't a conference opponent this week, which is really confusing, which is kind of college football today. It's fresh, it's exciting, it's different, it's new, it's wacky, it's weird, and I love every bit of it. So Utah's in a new conference, the Big 12. With recruiting, just in general, what are some of the, I guess, changes as far as recruiting areas? Like, has Utah gained new recruiting turf? Have they lost some from the Pac-12 Association? Kind of where is the general vibe on where we're going to find all these great players to play for our Utes?
I think a lot of it is still pretty much the same in their approach and how they recruit. Alex Markham, my publisher, he's the one that really has the ins and outs on recruiting. But as of right now, I think their biggest project is about Corner Canyon high school receiver Jerome Miles. Oh. They feel really good about the likelihood of him being a Ute. I definitely know that it'll be a fight until he's signed. He probably would be one of the biggest grabs in program history. I know that there's a Rivals national article about him, and Adam Gorney has also kind of predicted the same.
So does Isaac Wilson have any pull on that? Does that help at all?
I would assume that it possibly could be a little bit of a benefit and a pull for the Utes. But that is something that I think I wouldn't doubt could be playing into it.
Got it. How do you – because you have to recruit your own players today. What's the strategy to actually recruit your own players?
I think the biggest thing is Utah and how well they've done on the national stage. They've gotten more attention over the last few years, and even with a lot of guys that they've pulled, they've really showcased their ability to really prep these guys for the next level. And I think that's really been probably the biggest pull for Utah when it comes to recruiting.
So this week is a non-conference game. We have a poll up, and I wanted to get your opinion about the poll. Would you be interested to share your opinion?
Let's do it. Okay.
So the poll question is, so this isn't a conference game, right? But it kind of is. It's I love this game. I think it's a great test for Utah. It's going to be a great way to figure out where this team really is. Baylor's a hungry program, maybe a little bit of a wounded animal that's fighting for its life kind of program right now. And but yet it's still just a non-conference game. So how much do you want to show offensively and defensively if you're Utah in this game, knowing that, well, it's kind of important because, you want to set a good example in the conference and make a statement, but it's also still a non-conference game. So the choices are, do you just stay vanilla? Do you throw the kitchen sink at them, like whatever it takes to win the game? and just go all out, or do you kind of have maybe somewhere in the middle a little bit of a balance, on what you're doing? So where do you think Utah should land in this game, putting on your strategy coach's hat?
I think that they try to be more on the side of being more aggressive, especially with, even though Baylor struggled last year, they didn't have the best season. It still poses a challenge for Utah. I think overall, the biggest thing that Baylor poses a threat in as far as Utah and their preparation is going to be in their secondary. I think that's something that's really going to be a piece that Utah is going to really want to try to take advantage of with the receivers that they have, the tight ends, and as well as their running backs, and kind of the ways that they can utilize them and really do well in that sense.
So we got a little bit of our appetite whetted from the first game. We don't really totally know. We don't really know hardly anything about this Utah team yet. Really, we don't. I mean, if I'm being completely candid. But what do you want to see? What are you most excited about that maybe you haven't seen yet from this team in this short one game that they've showed? What would you like to see out of this next game with Baylor?
I would like to see them really take advantage at the wide receiver position. With new pieces in there, the depth at tight end, they have really great options to kind of dominate up the middle and in the secondary. I know Baylor has a solid cornerback group, but I think that's something that Utah has the upper hand on, is in the sense of what they have to offer at the wide receiver and the tight end group. You can really utilize Brandt, Mekhi Pittman in the slot, and then you have Dejon Stanley and Mekhi Bernard in the back. Those guys do a really good job of, they can soften the edges and allow for bigger plays for Money Parks and Dorian Singer on the outside. I think those are probably the biggest things that I would like to see from the offense this season and in this game.
So I got real excited about Dejon Stanley after the first game. And I'm just wondering if I'm maybe a little bit premature in my excitement about him. But when I watch the game, and I watch it very closely, every single play, every single week, and so my eyeballs are astutely attached to the game. And he just jumped off the plate to me. He looked like he was a step faster than everyone, including the Utah players. Like he really, really impressed me in the game. And I was a little surprised by Coach Whittingham's tempering of his excitement for Dejon Stanley. Maybe they're trying to keep him a secret. I don't know. Maybe they see the same thing. What were your impressions of Dejon in the game Saturday? And am I crazy in seeing this, or tell me what you think.
I think he did really well in the game. I thought he came in and showcased really what his abilities are. I think one thing that is kind of against him in a sense is getting him to gain weight. That's kind of been a talking point about him.
Haley,
over the last
just have him talk to me. I can help him gain weight. I know how to do that very well. Sorry, go ahead.
There you go. So I think that's one thing that I think is kind of always a talked about point with him, but overall he showed a really good game, and he's also been compared to Sione Vaki and his abilities, and kind of the same routes that Sione has ran, where he absolutely killed the defense. Stanley showed that same ability to do so. And so I think I would agree with you in that sense, is that he's really shown his ability and what he could do for the offense at the running back position.
I asked Bill Riley this just a bit ago when we were chatting, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, because it seems to be a thing. And Bill felt, well, I'll just ask your opinion. I don't want to be influenced by his take on this, but as I've been reading through things and kind of listening to people, do you feel that folks in the conference, like the Baylors and the Oklahoma States and the Kansas States, do you think they feel a little slighted that Utah's the new kid on the block and comes in and is anointed in its first season in the Big 12 as the team to beat in the conference? How are your thoughts about that? And am I kind of crazy for thinking that, or is that a real thing?
I think I would think a lot of it goes to anything in life where you're kind of the new guy coming in and they already have a highlight on you. Then I think that does put a little bit of a chip on your shoulder with the rest of the guys in the conference. And nobody's going to take it easy on Utah. That's definitely something that Utah will face the entire season, is having that target coming in as an early favorite and living up to their expectations. And those teams are going to want to end that for them. And so I wholeheartedly believe that there is a chip on their shoulder with Utah and kind of what their abilities are and trying to kind of knock them off that chair at the top.
Could this be compared to Utah being the Caitlin Clark of the Big 12? Like the people are petty and jealous and want to hip check the Utes? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know if it's necessarily that on that level, but I definitely do feel like they're wanting to come in and prove that, hey, you're the new guy here, and we're going to make sure that you know that you're going to be facing challenges and it's not an easy conference to play in, and we're going to make sure that you're going to have to fight for it to the end of the game.
Some thoughts on Cam Rising. He came back in the game. What was your impression of him? What does he need to do better this week? Where do you think Cam Rising really is?
I think he did really well. The opening game, he came in and played really dominant, especially where he's had so much time away from the field. He still has the tendencies to want to run, and I know Andy Ludwig kind of talked about that in fall camp a lot, that he really wanted to stop Cam from running as much as possible. But I know with Cam Rising and his kind of personality and being very competitive, that's going to be something that they're going to have to really kind of try to rein in. But overall, I thought he played really well in the game and basically didn't skip a beat coming back from that type of injury.
Yeah, I was kind of glad he got hit in the game, quite frankly. And they used to call, those counters and kind of those power runs with Cam intentionally, and apparently they're not going to do that. But I'm just really, really curious to see, what happens when the game's on the line and they got to get it. Maybe he just does it on his own. I don't know, but they could be tempted down the road to just say, we got to have one here for the team, Cam. You got to take one for the team. But hopefully he's smart about things and stays really healthy. What do we know about? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I do want to ask you on that. You being a quarterback yourself, what are your thoughts on Cam Rising and him coming back in that game?
Well, the one thing you get, like, you have this native intuition. You kind of go back when you get on the field. It's like all bets are off, and just go to your instincts. And your instincts are usually right and good, and you trust your instincts, and you certainly don't want to be out there second guessing yourself. And that's what I liked about what I saw from Cam in the game, where he's just he just went and played and didn't think much about it. And I think for your mental psyche when you have an injury, because until we're injured, we think we're immortal, like we're untouchable. So it's a very humbling thing to have been injured, and significantly. I mean, he missed the whole entire season. And until you go out and you go, okay, I got hit, I'm in the game, I'm playing normally, I still think it's kind of in the back of your mind. So I really liked that happened in the game, and didn't really see anything from Cam as far as where he is, and he seems ready. Now, if I'm being nitpicky about Cam, it seems like his arm is like a little bit like maybe not as live. Like it was very lively in the spring, and it just seemed like some of those intermediate down the field throws had a little bit of puff on them, a little bit of air. I mean, they weren't more on the line shots like I've seen him throw in the past. So, and I don't know if that's just he's still coming out of camp, and you can have a thing called the camp arm. Your arm's just a little dead from all the practice. But I'll be curious. That's one thing I want to see. Does the arm come back, and is it lively? Because he's going to have to make some some tough throws and going to have some velocity when you're playing these better defenses down the road. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dave Aranda, what do we know about Baylor?
One thing that I will say about Baylor, obviously, as we talked about earlier, they're coming back from not the best season. They probably had one of the worst defenses, giving up 33.3 points a game. David Aranda, he's the former Utah State defensive coordinator, and I know that he's calling defensive coverages now. So we'll see if that impacts the Utes anyway, now that they're kind of playing more of a difficult opponent. I think one area that Baylor could cause some issues for the Utes is their quarterback, Daquan Finn. He was a big off-season addition for Baylor from Toledo. He's a dual threat quarterback. Sometimes these type of quarterbacks can give Utah's defense some issues if they're able to extend some plays, but I wouldn't doubt Utah will assign a spy to kind of watch him throughout the game and see what he does to follow along there.
You get a sense that Utah's going to do a little bit more game planning than maybe they did against Utah State. I don't think they game planned much. I think they just said, hey, let's just go out and play football and react and do a lot of things. You definitely have to game plan for a quarterback like this. I think we've seen in the past these really athletic quarterbacks kind of stepping from one level to the next. I think of Cam Ward, who went to Washington State and kind of stepped up a level in play, and he basically just ran around that first year and tried to just make some plays when he's playing those more sophisticated defenses, better athletes, and I would imagine you might see a similar type thing. I think it's Aaron Brown, who played at Oregon a couple of years. I think Aaron is. I may be wrong in his first name, but he kind of the same type of thing. It's really athletic, but it was a little bit when you got playing good teams, a little bit overwhelming. Do you think it's a bad move for Dave Aranda to do the defense? Because is that a bad sign, or is that, do you think it's no big deal? What are your thoughts on him actually calling the defenses?
I think I think more in the sense that it's going to benefit the team, especially if he where he was a strong defensive coordinator and his abilities there. I think understanding Utah and kind of the programs in Utah, that may also benefit them in this game as well. So I could see it as a good thing for them. We'll just kind of we'll play it out to see what happens in the game and how it affects the Utes overall by the end. But I think it's a positive side for the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach, and of course he really understands it. But what if he coaches and they don't do well? It's like, it could be the final. Because of like, if you can't hire someone to do it and you can't do it yourself, maybe you can't do it. And that's it's a risky move, but it could certainly go both ways. Very interesting. Haley, I really appreciate your time, and we'll catch you soon and enjoy this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was nice meeting you.
Likewise. All right. This is the Sean O'Connell on ESPN 700, 92 FM. And just want to give you a couple pointers here. Some history is changing for the Salt Lake Bees. Their ballpark is no longer going to be Smith's Ballpark, which is where we are right now. We're at the Smiths at 9th and 9th. Come and check it out. Get all your fresh foods and all the pre-made foods, anything you want for your tailgate over the weekend. Your drink, whatever you want, whatever you need for the weekend, you can get it right here. Cool Ute store. Come check them out. In fact, you can come by and say hello. But getting back to the Bees, this is their last season. There's less than a month left. And if you want to have a ticket voucher, just text Bees to 33986 to win a pair of tickets to the Bees home game. The next homestand starts next week, so get yourself prepared here a little bit today, and then come to a Bees game because we'd love to have you. All right, I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, though, we are going to talk about why people stand around the head football coach, and I'm going to give you some insight, even how I made a little bit of money doing it. And by the way, we've got Lee Sterling, who's going to give us some tips on some hot tips, by the way, on some of the games this weekend as far as where you should bet and how you should bet and all that good stuff. I'm not a gambler, but I'm willing to learn. Anyways, this is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk, and of course your home of the Utes. We'll be back in a sec.
First and 10, SC from their own 45. Slovis now changing the play. Backpedals, four-man rush again. Pocket collapsing, looking down the field. Is it caught? They say it is.
No.
Or is it incomplete? Incomplete. They tried to get that ball to London. Phillips had the coverage up the sideline. It goes incomplete. Good coverage. Clark Phillips has done a nice job tonight.
Yeah, really understanding where the sideline is and how it's your friend, and he just kind of forces and pushes him right there to the sideline. And, yeah, clearly Drake is out of bounds. I mean, he still catches it, but he's out of bounds.
Heck of an athlete, that Drake London. I think he's got 13 catches now here tonight. Wow. Delayed handoff. Keontae Ingram picks his way forward to about the 48-yard line for a gain of 3, but that's not going to help SC here. Clock keeps running. We're at 6.5 to play, and 3rd down and 7 coming up.
And I would imagine, this might be a 2-down territory.
Yeah.
I mean, USC might feel like we got two.
Well, they're down
two
25, yeah. 3rd down, and we'll call it about 7 to go here. They're 5 of 10 on 3rd down. Converted just a moment ago. Utah with a 4-man down front. Slovis surveys the defense. Now he'll walk to the line and change the play. 6:05 clock running to play. 3rd down and 7 here for USC. Slovis takes the snap. Utah coming after him, pushing the pocket. Down the middle, looking, and caught! Or is it incomplete? They had Trigg. They're going to say incomplete. One referee said catch, the other said incomplete.
Timeout for an injured player.
We'll take a look at the replay here. Latu was there to separate him from the ball. Trigg is hurting right now.
Timeout on the field.
Down the middle, tipped, held, juggling, no catch. He got hit low, and he is in some pain, and they'll tend to him on the field. It's a timeout on the field. 4th down coming up for USC when we get back. 5:53 to play in the 3rd. Still all Utah. Utes 35, USC 10. So we're back at the Coliseum. 4th and 7 here for SC at their own 48-yard line. And Dante Williams has brought the punt team out here. Now, the punt team's out. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to punt. Ben Griffith's a big dude. He's got a little bit of a rugby background. Maybe he tries to run it, but I can assure you, Utah will be ready for a fake here with USC down 25 and 5:53 to play here in the third quarter.
Well, and if you give Utah the ball at the 50-yard line, they go in and score, you're pretty much ending the Alrighty, sports fans, welcome back to the program. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. I am not Sean O'Connell, by the way. I am Scott Mitchell, and I'm filling in for Sean today. He actually going to pop in here a little bit. He's out broadcasting the public display of sanctioned fighting. I believe he's in San Diego, so he does a great job with that, and we're going to have a great conversation here. Well, it's going to be in about an hour, so look forward to that. Appreciate the opportunity to be here on the show. I am at Smith's at 9th and 9th here in Salt Lake City. Pop in, say hello. Come check out your Smith's. They have fresh food. You can get stuff already done, ordered, or you can make it yourself. But a great place to start all of your tailgating needs. You can actually start and finish here. You want to get your tailgate ready because it's going to be a great weekend here for football. It actually starts last night. It's going to continue tonight. And tomorrow, all of our local favorite national football programs are in action this weekend. So you want to get all your tailgating needs because that's important. That's as important as watching is what you eat and how much you eat and, that it's good. So you can get it good here at Smith's. Also, by the way, this is your go-to place for your ute gear. I mean, you can get a lot of ute gear here. They got a great little section and almost a store inside the store here for ute gear. So get your ute gear, get your tailgate stuff, get, as Kurt Thomas says, your beverages for the weekend so you are ready to go. Anyways, glad to be here. Okay, so James, I have mentioned, well, first let me mention this. The Utah State Fair is back from September 5th, which was just a couple of days ago, to the 15th of September. Text wildlife. That's wildlife to 33986 for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets. Love to go to the fair. James, you ever go to the fair?
Yeah, I love going to the fair. Around North Temple there. It's still the great fairgrounds and good time, especially if you got kids. And this so perfect with this family 4-pack. If you got some kids to take with you to the fair. Kids love it, so take them out.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I used to love to go to the fair as a kid, and of course I've been as an adult as well. In fact, I was at the Utah State Fair listening to a Utah football game when they played Utah State one game, and I just, of course, had to listen to the game. Couldn't go to it at the time. In fact, I think it was up in Logan, which it is again this year, next week. So you can go to the fair. You can listen to your Utes or not. Well, we prefer you do. I mean, you can
put the earbuds in. Put the earbuds in while the fair's going. If you happen to be at the fair on the day of a Utes game, tune to ESPN 700. We got you covered.
Yes, and you can get funnel cakes, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, the funnel cakes there, by the way, are like as big as like a large pizza.
I mentioned funnel cake, and James almost jumped through the
I know.
microphone.
Well,
I'm so excited about
I have the last time I went, I took my brother and his kids, and my wife and I, and my brother and his family. We all went and we're like, let's share a funnel cake, not knowing that it's as big as like a large pizza. And we're like, okay, well, it's a good thing there's like 8 of us to eat this thing. So the funnel cakes are awesome.
See, my issue, James, is I eat one by myself, and that's a problem because they're massive. All right, let's circle back on a comment I made earlier in the program. Watching Monday Night Football on Thursday night, which is cool. And the game just got me so excited about the season. So much fun to watch. But as I'm watching the show, they always show the head coach, right? You get so many different little, shots in at the head coach.
almost as many head coach camera shots as there are Taylor Swift camera shots. Like
No,
it's that many.
You know, it's the one thing we haven't talked about today. I'm glad you brought it up. Was Taylor Swift? I thought she was tastefully done last night. By the way, yeah, I thought Taylor was not overdone. I don't think she was underdone. I think there's definitely a segment of the marketplace that likes to dial into Taylor Swift.
You got to show her a little bit for sure.
Yeah, and she was, you know, she was tastefully. She played the night right. I'll just say that. She wasn't over. She wasn't under. She played it right. You know, and I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's amazing. The whole Travis Kelce thing and just the whole thing, it's just fascinating to me, and good for all of them. It's wonderful. Although Travis seemed a little understated, though. He didn't seem like to have that same outward exuberance and fire. Maybe he was a little bit under the weather. I wouldn't say he was a major factor in the outcome of the game. You know, it's hard when you're a jet setter going around the world dancing on stage with the most famous person in the world. I can see it might take a toll on you. I have no idea. I don't know.
But you were teasing about when they show the head coach, the guys who are standing next to the head coach.
Yeah, and I want to explain to folks out there in the world what all that really means. Okay,
I'm ready for it because I've been curious about this.
If you look through, you can look through old NFL films and footage, and a lot of times in the Super Bowl, you'll see the same person around the head football
Cam
coach,
rising at the line of scrimmage, changing the play.
In a lot of the videos, and it's the same guy. And all of that is done on purpose. Typically, you're going to see support staff people that are always around the head coach, okay? So you're going to see the equipment manager. You're going to see the team doctors. The team doctors are probably the worst perpetrators of anything you're ever going to see. You're going to see maybe the team athletic trainer to some degree. You're going to see some assistant coach that, you know, got the very last credential to be on the sideline. Like he's just happy to be there. You're going to see all of the backup guys, the guys who with the cleanest uniforms because they don't get out in the game to play, because they all know that if they want TV time, it's hang out by the head coach. There's no reason for them to be there. There's no function. The head coach isn't turning around and gathering information or intel or getting an opinion from any of these people. They're Klingons, okay? They're just the entourage that the coach didn't ask for. He's got all his people, but they're not really his people. He doesn't care.
That's fascinating.
He has and so I learned this at an early stage in my career. And the worst ones are the team doctors because, let's face it, doctors have big egos, right? And so they want to be kind of the center stage. And the only time they ever get involved is if someone's really injured, and they're not going to the head coach. They're going to the person that's injured. They basically just stand there doing nothing. They have no function whatsoever.
Until someone gets hurt.
Until someone gets hurt. But their whole function is, I want TV time. I want TV time. And I'll just tell you right now, it works. Okay? It really, really works. You will get airtime. Now, I did mention that I made money from this. This is a true story.
Yeah, I'm ready to hear this story.
So, of course, I played for one of the most iconic coaches in NFL history, an all-time winning coach in Don Shula, which was an amazing experience for me. I have just millions of stories from my time with Coach Shula. He was in every single one of our meetings. I sat next to him in every film session, in every meeting, because Dan Marino wouldn't sit next to him.
Interesting.
So it was me, and
so you're like, hey, that chair's open. Why don't I sit? Why don't I just sit in here?
No, it wasn't. Hey, it's open. It was like, you're sitting there.
Oh, okay.
I was told to sit there.
You were told to sit there.
Yeah,
okay.
I wasn't like, because there's no camera on the coach in.
Why would
you? Film session.
Why would you volunteer for that?
Yeah, no one wants to sit by the coach then. But during the game, you know this, right? So Coach Shula was going to hit a milestone. He's going to become the all-time winningest coach in NFL history. And the milestones were regular season all-time wins and then all-time wins, in the regular and the postseason. So I'm the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins when he becomes the all-time winningest coach. And we know we're getting toward the end of the game, and they're going to dump the Gatorade on Coach Shula. And everyone knows you got to be next to the coach, not because you want to celebrate with him, not because this is an amazing thing, but because you will be immortalized forever.
Yeah.
Because whenever they show the highlights, they always show the head coach, and so you get in on that film footage. So which happened in this game. So I want to say we were playing. It might have been the Kansas City Chiefs. Go figure. And we won the game. And so it's late in the game, and I'm standing next to Coach Shula with my helmet in my hand because the game's pretty much over. I think our defense is on the field, and I'm knowing the only reason I'm standing by him is because they're going to have this moment and they're going to catch it on film, which they did.
And you're ready for your camera time.
Now I didn't know it at the time, but later on they have to. So they did this Burger King commercial 2 or 3 years ago for the Super Bowl, and they were showing kind of the king of wins and whatever, and it was Coach Shula, and so I'm standing next to him and I'm recognizable in the commercial, and they had to pay me money. Because my image is recognizable.
Yeah, NIL, baby.
Right? They called me and said, "Is it okay if we use your image?" And I felt so important, and so I got money from Burger King just because I stood next to the head coach. Now, really quick, we're going to go to a break because I want to get to Lee Sterling here and give him as much time as we can. But really quickly, now there was a coach. This is speculation, okay? Allegedly, so you can't accuse me of anything because I just heard it. It's through the rumor mill. Legendary coach Bill Walsh required on the sideline that no one stood further than him on the field. So no coach, no player, nobody. Everyone had to stand back behind Bill Walsh on the sideline because he was Bill Walsh. And he was the head freaking coach.
And that's why all the NFL film footage has him kind of on an island. Then
pretty much, yeah. And that was a mandate from him and his ego. So interesting stuff, sideline decorum, and fascinating facts here on the Sean O'Connell with Scott Mitchell. We are going to take a break here again. When we come back, we have Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. He is the betting expert. We're going to talk about some games. I got some great questions for him. This is Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk, and of course your home of the Utes. We'll be back in a sec.
Thomas stays in the ball game, 1st and 10 Utah as they move it out to their 31-yard line. 3 tight end look again here for the Utes. Again, they give it to Tavion Thomas. This time not as much running room, though. He pushes the pile and picks up 2 out to about the 33-yard line. Keeps both those arms wrapped around the football. And now Utah might go with a little tempo. They're not going to huddle up here. They will go with some tempo here. 2nd down and 8 from their own 33-yard line. Rising brings them back to the line of scrimmage. SC with 7 now in the box. Rising's going to pass here on 2nd down and 8. Surveys, throws over the middle, completes. Got a tight end. That's Cole Fotheringham, who spins out of a tackle at the 40 and down to the 43-yard line. That'll be good for a first down.
Yeah, very, very wise throw. Very, very patient. This is a safe spot here. Got a whole bunch of options there, and Fotheringham does a nice job of catching the ball and spinning out.
That's kind of his route. He caught a few of those against Washington State, too, and that's there all the time.
Right, and it is, but it's also the location of the pass. It's low, so if he does drop it or misses it, it's not going to be a tip pass for an interception.
Now TJ Pledger checks back in the ball game, and Cam Rising changes the play at the line of scrimmage. 1st and 10 from the Utah 43. Play action roll. Looking down the field, looking for Vele down the field. He overshoots him. There was a collision and no flag. And now we've got a flag here on the near sideline. And I'm not sure what that is. Could the referee here be calling pass interference down the field?
Ineligible player downfield. Excuse me, number 78 of the offense. The penalty is declined. 2nd down.
That's the second illegal player, ineligible man downfield on this drive.
Yeah, I guess these offensive linemen want to get into the action here. He took a nice shot, but he had Keithy wide open. I mean, and it's a good play call because, again, USC's – he had both guys really, really open on that.
Thomas back in the ball game here. They'll operate out of the shotgun. 3 receivers right, tight end to the left-hand side here on 2nd down and 10 for the Utah 43. Cam switches up the protection in hands to Tavion Thomas. Gets into the hole and picks up 2 yards to about the 45-yard line. Tough running inside that time. SC had it sniffed out pretty good. Raylan Goforth, who's playing here in the second half, coming up to make the tackle. Clock running at 3:40 to play here in the third. Utah 35, SC 10. 3rd down and 8 coming up here for Utah. Utah 4 out of 7 on 3rd down, 2 for 2, Scott, here in the second half.
Yeah, and this has been a good down for Utah. Still a fairly manageable 3rd down here.
Bernard and Keithy in the backfield. 2 receivers split to the right-hand side, rising to pass, looking, stepping, throwing, over the middle, complete to Fotheringham, but he's going to be well short of first down yardage. Or are they saying incomplete on that pass? Yes, incomplete. He didn't quite gather it in, so that'll bring out the punt team. They moved the ball. They got themselves out of danger, and now they're in a good position to punt it away here, and they took about 2.5, 3 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, and, watching that, I think Cam was just playing it really safe because he had Veely over the middle. He didn't really read it like he should have.
Peasley on to punt.
All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792 FM, 92.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. He is off, I believe, in California broadcasting professional fights. So happy to be here today. Really excited about our next guest here, who I'm going to bring on right now. Lee Sterling with Paramount Sports joins us. He is, of course, the sporting bets expert for college and NFL games. And is it true, Lee, that your clients have had 24 years of winning with you?
They have.
You're the man.
Not going to win every week.
You are the man.
Not going to win every week, but we're off to a great start. We've won 10 of the first 12 games in college football in the NFL, and
nice.
Hopefully it continues. I'm actually from Miami, and saw your career. We've never done a show together, and
I know.
I'm on over 50 stations across the country, so we've never done a show, but saw you play many times. I have a feeling, Scott, if we could have only put your arm on my legs, you could throw it probably about 30 yards, probably farther than I could. I only reached Division I AA football back in the time. If we had your arm and my legs, we could have gone to the Hall of Fame.
We would have been something. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe there's still hope for us here. You know, it's interesting to bring that up. Do you have like a player or a team that you just go, man, this is a lock for me? Like they've just consistently been a great performer for me, someone that I can really count on, or does it just change from year to year and week to week?
There's sometimes, like, let me give you an example. Nebraska was my biggest play last week.
Okay.
Loved the young quarterback. Loved Dylan Raiola. I think he's incredible. He looks like Patrick Mahomes if people haven't seen him yet. But I'm going against them this week because they shouldn't be a 7.5-point favorite, in my opinion, against Colorado. So sometimes, it's not the talent, and I think they're going to win 8 games. Sometimes it's about the matchups. I mean, you've been in the film room sometimes, and you see something, and I kind of look at things the same way. So that's one game, and that's a really good example. That's the best thing about betting. Now you have to, when you wager, you got to wager 110 to win 100. It's called the juice if you lose. But the great thing is you can switch it up, and you can go any way you want to go. So I think Colorado might win that game outright. You look for a fun game. I think Colorado's probably going to win that game at 48-45, and they're getting 7.5 points. So if you're planning on making any Reuben sandwiches that take about 10 minutes to make, don't even think about it.
Okay.
You miss too much action in the game.
So, you talk about these like indicators. Are there things you look for? Like, are there like what are some? I mean, because if you're an insider like me, I know who's healthy and who isn't healthy. But do you look at like this team plays better on grass? They play better at home. They play better. Are there? What are some of the things that are really helpful to kind of get a key on making a good bet?
I start with a coach, and the longer a coach has been around, like let's take Nick Saban, big games. Okay. After he's come off of a loss, you would not want to be around him. You're going to get that team is going to get their best effort. Someone like Nick Saban, though, when he's playing, let's say Colorado State, and he has an ex-coach. Now we're not talking about Lane Kiffin, who. Right. There's a love-hate relationship going there.
Sure. Yeah.
But let's say it's a position coach who he liked a lot. He probably, if the line's 38 points, he'll win the game 38-7. He's happy. He doesn't want to pour it on, doesn't want the kid to get fired. And that's the way it goes. You have to know your audience. You have to know the coach. First, the hardest thing about college football, and used to be college football was easier. I used to fly around with my father and a friend. We used to go to see spring games, and nothing was on YouTube. Oh. You could find out stuff. But now, injuries, except for the SEC this year and the Big Ten, they're not divulging injuries. And also, what's happened is with the NIL and transfers, there's some games. Like, let me give you an example. There was a game, North Carolina State. They had a quarterback, kid playing that is really good. I mean, this kid named Grayson McCall is a top 10, top 15 quarterback in college football. Played great at Coastal Carolina. First three quarters, he was terrible. I mean, he was as bad as DJ Uiagalelei. But all of a sudden, the last quarter, he caught fire, and you could see finally, getting that he was getting on the same page with his receivers who had never played with before.
Interesting. Can we? Well, I want to talk about some games here, but before I do, real quick, I'm just curious about last night. That game came down to a toe. Like, how agonizing are moments like that for people that are into betting?
Oh, that's a tough. And some people got the line. It was right on the line as far as the total. So it's tough. Here's the thing I do notice, and I've been doing this 31 years. If you're winning, you win games like that. When you're losing, you lose every game like that. So, here's the way I take it. My wife, at first couple years, she could tell. I mean, I would lose my temper. I play a little game with her. She can't figure out whether I'm winning or losing. She walked in last Saturday, and she looked at me, "You're having a rough day." Real quiet. I said, "Really?" She goes, "I think so." I said, "Actually, I'm like 6-1 so far today." So it's just it's to have fun. Wait till you see once you guys get hockey. Wait until there's a game that's like 3-2 and the total's 5.5. Yeah. And even if Utah loses the game, the hockey team, and the other team scores an empty net, you might see a bunch of people standing up in Utah jerseys because they hit the over. Even if you're playing for $5 or $10. I have my two daughters, one who's in New York where it's legal, and she's sending me screenshots, as soon as I think she had Henry scoring a touchdown, and I think she had Kansas City money line for her parlay. She had $10. She won $66. She's excited.
Wow. I wonder if you and your wife have little side bets on if she can tell if you're winning or losing. Has it gotten that bad in your house?
We do it all the time. The most annoying question being in this business, Scott, is whenever we go to a party, almost always someone says, "Who do you like to win the Super Bowl?" Right. It's such a common joke. I tell my wife that I literally just walk on. I mean, because all I'm focused on is that day, that week.
Right. Yep.
I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. I'm a Dolphins fan. So, I'd love for the Dolphins to win, but other than that, could care less.
I'm a Dolphins fan, too. Yep. All right, can we talk about a couple of games here?
Sure.
Texas and Michigan. Tell me about that one.
All right, so the public loves Michigan. People love to bet the underdog with the better defense. And Michigan might have a slightly better defense. They got two guys probably will get drafted in the top 15 in the draft, but Texas's defense isn't far behind. And also there's a people think that better teams teams play much better at home. Lately, not the same. I mean, these teams, these kids, they play on high school teams that travel across the country. And I think sometimes you see college teams and NFL teams, they bond when they're on the road and sometimes play better. Texas is one of those teams. They won 7 straight non-conference road games and covered every single one of them. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. I think they're going to lose 3, maybe 4 games this year, and this will be the first game.
Wow.
Davis Warren, this former walk-on kid, I don't think he's good enough. So Michigan, and there's 4 scoring drives last week. They just covered from 26 to 47 yards, 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns against Fresno State. The line, they're tempting you to play Michigan plus the 7. I'm not falling for the trap. Texas, 28-16.
Interesting.
Yep.
SMU, BYU, of course, BYU fans can't bet, but we'll talk about it anyways.
Yeah. I was impressed with BYU. I thought that they looked much improved. I still don't think they have many game breakers on their offense. Now, I think that Chase Roberts is good. Would you agree, receiver?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, but let's say he played at Alabama. What would he be? Their first, second, third, fourth best receiver?
Yeah, 4 probably.
3.
Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
3. He's a
3,
nice possession guy, not going to drop the ball. SMU probably has 2-3 guys that are better. I think their top 2 or 3 running backs are better. I think their quarterback is better. Now, for some reason, they have not played well so far. I have a feeling that BYU might have to make a change at quarterback and go to Gary Bohannon. Maybe not this game. Maybe. We'll see. I like SMU. I think they double up BYU 34-17.
Wow. That's a big one.
Another thing I look for, key, college football, do you have guys that can catch a ball, run a ball, break a tackle, and go 70, 80 yards? I think SMU has 5 or 6 of those guys. BYU, maybe 1.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting key. Utah, Baylor.
Yep. Here's what, and I have a place in Park City. I love going to Utah games. I loved seeing when they were rolling. This is a team that was a lot of fun. And now that they have their guy back, Cam Rising, I love him. I just get goosebumps watching him play action. He is a really good play action quarterback. I'm sure, playing for the Dolphins, they harped on it. Dan Marino was not one of the better play action quarterbacks, not at all. But you create good play action. I had a former coach that played at the University of Florida. He had one of the best play action fakes. It's that important, and he sets everything up with that. So his leadership also important. I think this is a team, Baylor, just don't have weapons. And we talk about weapons all the time.
Right.
Utah may not have as many home run hitters as some of these top-tier teams, but they have one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Utah, they win this game 41-10.
Wow. Big one.
Yep.
All right, can we go on? We got one NFL game. The Seahawks and the Broncos. What do you got?
Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's a really good fit for this Denver offense. And I love the top 2 guys. I thought it was 1 and 1A. They were that good coming out of the draft, talking about Williams and Daniels. But I think Bo Nix, for this type of offense that Sean Payton wants to run, I like it a lot. Their defense concerns me. They give up 5 yards a carry last year, worse in the NFL. I think if Seattle wins the game, it's going to be running the football and getting 160, 180 yards, and they'll do that with Kenneth Walker III. But I think Denver is going to be able to trade points. Sometimes a line might be a little bit too high. I think Seattle wins the game 27-23, but I think Denver covers the 6 points.
Okay. And then I guess a free play, USC, Utah State.
Yep. Anyone wants to get it for free, first 10 callers, call 800-400-9741. Give them USC and Utah State on me, 800-400-9741. And they want to hop on board. We have a bunch of free pick videos that, we couldn't even talk about the games like Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Tennessee, NC State. Check out all those free pick videos on the website, ParamountSports.com.
Very good. Hey, it's been a pleasure. I could talk about this all day. I live in Utah, so maybe we can get together when you're up here. I'd love to do that.
Sounds good, Scott. But
thanks.
we enjoyed being on with you. Have a great day and great weekend. Be safe.
Yeah, you too. there you have it, folks. Elise Sterling from Paramount Sports. I think it's so fast. I'm not a gambler. And if I was, I'd probably end up like stealing my kids' piggyback or piggy bank. Yeah, with all their pennies in there. Anyways, good stuff. Very interesting. Big part of the sports world. We're going to take another break here, but come back. We've got what do we have? The Coordinator's Corner right around the corner. Coordinator's Corner right around the corner. This is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk.
Thomas stays in the ball game. 1st and 10, Utah, as they move it out to their 31-yard line. 3 tight end look again here for the Utes. Again, they give it to Tavion Thomas. This time not as much running room, though. He pushes the pile and picks up 2 out to about the 33-yard line. Keeps both those arms wrapped around the football. And now Utah might go with a little tempo. They're not going to huddle up here. They will go with some tempo here. 2nd down and 8 from their own 33-yard line. Rising brings them back to the line of scrimmage. SC with 7 now in the box. Rising's going to pass here on 2nd down and 8. Surveys, throws over the middle, completes. Got a tight end. That's Cole Fotheringham, who spins out of a tackle at the 40 and down to the 43-yard line. That'll be good for a first down.
Yeah, very, very wise throw. Very, very patient. This is a safe spot here. Got a whole bunch of options there, and Fotheringham does a nice job of catching the ball and spinning out.
That's kind of his route. He caught a few of those against Washington State, too, and that's there all the time.
Right, and it is, but it's also the location of the pass. It's low, so if he does drop it or misses it, it's not going to be a tip pass for an interception.
Now TJ Pledger checks back in the ball game, and Cam Rising changes the play at the line of scrimmage. 1st and 10 from the Utah 43. Play action roll. Looking down the field, looking for Vele down the field. He overshoots him. There was a collision and no flag. And now we've got a flag here on the near sideline. And I'm not sure what that is. Could the referee here be calling pass interference down the field?
Ineligible player downfield. Excuse me, number 78 of the offense. The penalty is declined. 2nd down.
That's the second illegal player, ineligible man downfield on this drive.
Yeah, I guess these offensive linemen want to get into the action here. He took a nice shot, but he had Keithy wide open. I mean, and it's a good play call because, again, he had both guys really, really open on that.
Thomas back in the ball game here. They'll operate out of the shotgun. 3 receivers right, tight end to the left-hand side here on 2nd down and 10 for the Utah 43. Cam switches up the protection in hands to Tavion Thomas. Gets into the hole and picks up 2 yards to about the 45-yard line. Tough running inside that time. SC had it sniffed out pretty good. Raylan Goforth, who's playing here in the second half, coming up to make the tackle. Clock running at 3:40 to play here in the third. Utah 35, SC 10. 3rd down and 8 coming up here for Utah. Utah 4 out of 7 on 3rd down, 2 for 2, Scott, here in the second half.
Yeah, and this has been a good down for Utah. Still a fairly manageable 3rd down here.
Bernard and Keithy in the backfield. 2 receivers split to the right-hand side. Rising to pass. Looking, stepping, throwing over the middle. Complete to Fotheringham, but he's going to be well short of first down yardage. Or are they saying incomplete on that pass? Yes, incomplete. He didn't quite gather it in. So that'll bring out the punt team. They moved the ball. They got themselves out of danger, and now they're in a good position to punt it away here. And they took about 2.5, 3 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, and All righty, sports fans, welcome back to the program. It is the Sean O'Connell Show. I am not Sean O'Connell. I am Scott Mitchell. I am guest hosting for Sean, who is off watching people fight. So I'm honored and really appreciate the chance to be here and do the show for Sean today. And so thank you, Broadway Media and ESPN 700. Right now, we're at the Smiths on 9th and 9th in Salt Lake City. Used to be my Smiths when I was a student at the U, and love the Smiths. Love all of their great stuff they have here. They've got fresh stuff. They've got pre-made stuff. They got everything you need for your tailgates. They've got the Ute store in here. Stop in by, say hello. They've got your beverage for the weekend if you need something like that. My beverage of choice is water, and they even have that. They have all kinds of water and. But a lot of football going on this weekend, a lot of football going on today, yesterday, Saturday, Sunday, and, it's not enough. I think the only day of the week we don't have football is Tuesday. Give them long enough, and they will have it on those days. And if Thursday night's game between the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens is any indication of what's to come, we are all living happy, blessed, and wonderful lives because it was wonderful. Of course, the Packers and the Eagles play tonight in Rio. That's in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, I believe. So very exciting. And, of course, you can catch it right here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. That's pretty cool, right? Because let's face it, you want to get your sports, you come here. This is Utah's #1 sports talk and, of course, home of the Utes. Right now, we have Bees tickets. So if you want to go see the Bees, it's their last season, less than a month to go. Next week they have a long, nice home stand. So text Bees to 33986 to win a pair of tickets to a Bees game. Love to go to Smith's Ballpark and watch the Bees. And, of course, it's winding down, so you want to catch it if you can. Speaking of being the home of the Utes, we have a replay of the Coordinator's Corner with Coach Andy Ludwig. He's going to talk for a minute, and I'm going to react to what Coach Ludwig has to say. Take it away, James.
Andy Ludwig, up there at your University of Utah Utes. Coach Ludd, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing great. Very glad that you're willing to give us a little bit of time today. Look, the SUU game, a lot of fun. It was a great opener, 49-0, something you don't sneeze at ever, even if it is against an FCS opponent. You only had your starters in effectively for a half. Did they get the work done in that half that you wanted them to get done?
I feel good about the production of the first unit in the first half. The first O-line started out the second half. We wanted to give Isaac Wilson a chance to play behind the one O-line, but I feel good with the production of the first half. Obviously, a lot of things to clean up with the entire group, but it was an invaluable experience for that second group in the second half. As they did a lot of good things.
We've talked to Cam a lot here on the show about his expectations, the feeling of, being out there and doing it. And there's a certain amount of relief in addition to the excitement. From your perspective, what's it been like now that you have that guy so experienced? You two seem to be on the same page in a lot of ways. How different is it for you to call this offense when it's in Cam Rising's hands versus the other options?
Well, you've got every tool in the box available to you with Cam Rising at quarterback. Last year that may not have been exactly the case where you're trying to dial it back a little bit and not ask the quarterback to do too much. Now it's a matter of just trying to say, not asking Cam to do everything, but he wants to do everything. The guy's totally into it, total mastery of the offensive system, knows it inside and out, does a great job of preparation, and he's a lot of fun to coach right now.
When you guys are scripting out, I don't know, the first, opening sequence, your first 10, however you do it, and it's a collaborative effort, it's you and Cam, how collaborative is it? I've asked him this question. I wanted to get your perspective on it as well.
Yeah, we meet on Thursday nights after practice, and the first thing we go through is, we have our list of third down calls broken up by distances, and I just ask him to rank him, which 3rd and 5 he likes the best, 1, 2, 3, 4. We usually have 4 in each different category, and he ranks them. And for the most part, I just roll right with that ranking because he's got to execute. I like them all. Shoot, that's why they're on the call sheet, but he's got to execute them. So he gets a chance to say, this is going to be my first third and long call. This would be the second. And then we just go through, his favorite pass plays and things that would fit in the first quarter, how he wants to take shots or, get settled in a rhythm with some quicker throws, what have you. So his fingerprints are all over those situation scripting.
It was great to see Brant Keithy be so productive in the opening game, 700-plus days away from the last time we saw him, and he didn't appear to lose much of a step, especially that third touchdown where he fought through the contact. Just great thing to see. I hearken back to when we saw him, running fly sweeps and taking snaps in a Wildcat situation and all the different ways that you utilized him previously. Are all those things available to you again, or do you have to manage it differently because of the injury history and because of where he's at in his career?
Right now, we're throwing everything. You talk about Cam and Brant. They've been in the system for 6 years. It's unheard of. Same system, same coordinator. So he's had exposure to everything that we're doing, whether we did it in 2019, my first year here, or, before his injury in 22, early in the 22 season. Again, that guy has great football intellect, great mastery of the system, and you just try and find creative ways to get him touches.
Utah football offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig is my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, part of our Coordinator's Corner. It'll rotate offense and defense, so we'll have Morgan Scally next week. Coach, how often are you turning on the film and watching practice and putting on your mad scientist hat and saying, all right, I got these guys at wide receiver. These are weapons we haven't had every single year. I've got 6 tight ends. Let's get creative. Are you still drawing up new stuff?
Yes. There is a wealth of talented players. Unfortunately, there's only one ball, and you try to spread it out. But we're going to try to feature the playmakers, the best guys, and it's a very competitive group on the perimeter between the wideouts and tight end group. But really, it gives you a chance to be creative, but not get crazy with it. But you're just trying to highlight the players' skill sets and abilities, and we got a lot of tools to work with.
So we're never going to see all 6 tight ends on the field at the same time with Brant playing quarterback?
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Little. I don't even know what do you even call that. It's not 05. It's just, I don't know. It's 6 tight end personnel, a little wildcat. I guess if you've only got 6, if you had more than that, you could pull a tackle and throw one of your tight ends out there. The group is so deep. Can we talk about the job Freddie has done with them? I mean, I go back to when your first stint at the University of Utah and, replacing an offense that didn't really even use much of a tight end, and now you've got 6 deep just on the depth chart.
Yeah, Freddie's done a great job, not only in recruiting very good players, but developing those players. And it's a super competitive room. And, it's hard because we love to feature the multiple tight end sets, but the skill set in the receiver room also warrants putting multiple receivers on the field. So, again, it's a balancing act, and you're just trying to play to the player's strengths and abilities.
Coach, how often when you're scripting plays or you're calling plays, is it about getting the ball into a certain player's hand because that person's the number 1 option or the number 2 option in the route tree? And how often is it just beating the defense's look? Is there a balance there?
There is, and Coach Whittingham and I talk a lot about, how many touches is Dorian Singer going to get, how we're getting the ball to Caleb Lohner, and there's certain plays that are designed like the ball should go to this individual if the defensive structure shapes up the way we think it does. But then there's other drop back passes where Cam's got 5 viable options, so there's a little bit of a balancing act there. But we try to game plan to get the ball to certain players at different times, and we'll just keep that rolling here through the season.
because you have so many options with wideouts and with tight ends, will the running back room be less involved in the passing game?
No, I think you saw that the other night with Dejon Stanley, has a real skill set. He's not an every down player for us, but his role will increase because he's so dynamic with the ball in his hand. And another sixth-year player in this system, Mekhi Bernard, I have so much trust and confidence in his ability and his football intellect that he's a hard guy to ignore when you're diagramming routes or putting in plays, because he's so versatile and functional as a pass catcher.
When someone puts the ball on the carpet, Coach, and you recover it, it bounces right back into the breadbasket, whatever. How is that handled? How do you assess that? Because it's not a turnover, but obviously it's less than ideal. Is it like a half-point docked? How do you handle it?
Well, usually if the ball comes out, so do you, okay? And whether we get the ball back or not. And, in the first game, with that, I'm thinking of Mike Mitchell, that one that bounced right back to him. There's some learning curve with those younger players. We had a ball on the ground. Again, with another freshman running back, there's some learning opportunities there for those guys. But there's nothing more important in this offensive structure than ball security. It's our number one objective every week. And we take a lot of pride in it, obviously have room for improvement in that area.
Just another minute or two with the offensive coordinator at the University of Utah, Andy Ludwig, here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I want to focus in on this Baylor contest. They had their struggles defensively last year. Dave Aranda, head coach, we're all very familiar with him. Dave Aranda calling his own defense. Does that change anything when the head man is, he's down on the sideline and he's also calling the defense?
I don't think it changes anything. It makes it a little bit hard to prepare for because we have statistics and analytics from last year's coordinator. But that data, I don't want to say it's useless because it follows the philosophy of the head coach, but it was a different guy calling it. So I got great respect for Dave. I worked with Dave at Wisconsin for a couple of years. He's a great person and a very good head coach and defensive coordinator. And, you're going into, I wouldn't say an unknown, but again, all the data that we have other than last week's game, which wasn't much of a game, is pretty much useless for us in terms of trying to dissect tendencies.
To what degree has the transfer portal exacerbated that to where you might be playing the same team, the same scheme, same coaches, but now they have 6 new starters?
Yeah, that will be a case through the season. I'm certain of that. But at Baylor, they're returning 9 or 10 starters on the defensive unit. So we're looking at a lot of the same guys on film that we're facing this week. So that's not as big a factor this week. And again, as the season continues, it'll be a little bit less of a factor as you get a beat on who's playing what as the portal players shape out.
All right, I got to ask you this, Coach, before I let you go. When we're leading up to the season, and it's all about speculation and prediction, I put out some polls. I asked the question many different people, many different times, never to the man who's actually calling the plays and crafting this offense. When it comes to balance of calling plays, is this a year where the pass plays outweigh the run plays in your offense? Is this a year where it's a 51-49%, or is this still going to be predominantly a run offense with, of course, the passing game as a heavy component?
Well, every game is going to be different, and we are going to call the plays that we feel like put us in the best position to win the football game. And again, with the experience at quarterback, with the strength of the perimeter players, obviously I think we are built to throw the ball with extreme efficiency, but the offensive line and the running back room adds so much value to the program. We want to be a play-action pass team, so running the football has always got to be part of our MO. And I think balanced or better is always the philosophy, balanced 50-50 run-pass. But if you're up in the fourth quarter, that's going to shift to more run as you try to work the clock and win the game that way. So, but it's a game. I'm not worried about run-pass ratio. I'm worried about W's. So whatever it takes to win the game, that's what we're going to do.
And the very last thing before I let you go, I've said it many different ways on my show over the years. you are the thing that has seemingly worked best alongside Kyle Whittingham. Your offense, maybe your attitude is what balances out his approach on the defensive side and the culture building and all that. Why do you two work so well together?
I think we share a very similar philosophy in football, where it's a very physical and tough-minded sport. And my job as the offensive coordinator is to keep the head coach out of the offensive staff room, and you do that by just keeping him happy, scoring a lot of points, and protecting the football.
Well, Coach, we all hope that you continue to do that throughout the year. Good luck against Baylor, and thanks for joining me. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it. Go Utes.
That's Andy Ludwig, offensive coordinator at the University of Utah. Coordinator's Corners will be right here every week moving forward throughout the season.
All right, there you have it. Of course, the Coordinator's Corner, Sean, that interview, which aired on Wednesday. It's something that happens every Wednesday on the Sean O'Connell Show. Great thing that they alternate between Andy Ludwig and Morgan Scally. Get a lot of good insight there, and is interesting to hear some of those comments. Realizing what a blessing it is to have players like Cam Rising, Brant Keithy in your program for 6 years. I mean, if you can't figure out the offense by then, something's wrong with you. So it's a huge asset. So which those guys have been able to do. It helps them to help other players. It helps them in just playing free. You're not thinking, you're not guessing, you're not. You can get into some of that ad lib, which I talked about that players can do. Your football IQ is intelligence, as Coach Ludwig mentioned, goes through the ceiling when all of that happens. It is a tough act that Coach Ludwig has to deal with, balancing having too many players. You think it's a blessing, right? You have all these really good players and trying to figure out how to fit all of them into your game plan and into a situation. Now, last week is brutally tough because you've got your ones going like half the game, and you're scoring touchdowns at a very high clip. Big play touchdowns. So there's not a lot of time, a lot of plays. You're not getting a lot of plays, so a lot of people don't get involved in the game, and it's keeping everyone with a good, healthy attitude about what's going on, because it's hard. It's hard when you work all week long and you practice and you're ready to play, and then you get in a game and you're not a part of what's going on, and it can get demoralizing, and you can get down on yourself, and so that's a challenging thing. Thought it was interesting you mentioned about getting Dorian Singer touches and Caleb Lohner, right? Caleb Lohner seems to be the hot button topic here with what's going on with the Utes, and of course. Andy did mention Dejon Staley and Stanley, and I don't know why you call him Staley, but Stanley, and he clearly is a guy that they want to get more touches in a game, and I think they saw something, which is something I was curious about. He mentioned Mekhi Bernard, and Mekhi, going back and kind of reviewing the film and everything, Mekhi's I've always liked him. He's a really complete player. He's a very mature player. And he's a guy, as this season moves forward, Utah's definitely going to need, and he's someone who definitely will play into what happens offensively on this team. Not only passing the ball, as Andy mentioned, but also running it. That was the thing I was actually fairly impressed with. He ran the ball pretty decent, and of course, I think the quote of the whole program is, "Hey, if the ball comes out, so do you," and That's a great tagline by Coach Ludwig.
Yeah, what a coach speak line that is, right? The ball comes
line.
out, so yeah. I thought it was a great question by OC too, because
it was a wonderful question. Yeah,
it's not a turnover, but still it's not ball control.
Yeah,
so
it's not a turnover, right? And ball control is the operative word there. You really have to have, just by the grace of the bounce of the football and the football gods, you got the ball back, but you still dropped it, and you can't. So a very, very, very interesting comment from Coach Ludwig. I love hearing all this stuff and getting these coaches. They kind of tell you stuff and they don't tell you stuff. But Coach Ludwig said quite a bit there. I love the whole concept. I had a coach once who would never meet with me. I was in Detroit, And Sylvester Crooms was our offensive coordinator. He's new, never been a coordinator. And I never talked to him one time. Like during the week, nothing. He wasn't like, and I just thought that was the most insane thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. Where when I'm with Coach Shula and he's like making you call your own plays in practice, but we would sit down and go over, and we had to come up with what is the defense doing on third down, what plays do you like against this team on third down, and why. It wasn't just, well, I like it, but you had to have a good reason why you liked it. So it's fun to hear that insight a little bit about meeting with Cam and getting his feelings and his thoughts on things. And Coach Shula used to say, I can have all the greatest plays in the world, but if you don't have confidence in them, you don't understand them, they're worthless. And so I like the communication that happens between Cam and Coach Ludwig. It's good stuff. So love to hear all that, and you should too as a fan, because this is that insight and fun stuff we get to watch and look for. So now we're going to be looking for what personnel groups, how do they get creative with the tight end look? And you saw that. You saw a run, and then you saw the play action pass, one-man route where Brian Keithy scores a touchdown. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with that personnel group with the tight ends. You haven't seen anything with the wide receivers yet, and what different variations and looks and plays that you can run with the talent you have at wide receiver and even the running back position. So a lot of fun things, tough balancing act to keep everyone happy, but I think it's a good problem to actually have. The problem we have right now is we're going to take a break, because I don't ever want to take a break, but we're required to. But before we do go, look, you have a chance, people. If you want tickets to this week's Baylor's-Utah game, you can text Utes to 33986 for your chance to win 2 tickets to Utah versus Baylor. We want to see you all there. I know I'm going to be there. And you know what? If I wasn't, I would definitely text to get my tickets to go see the Utes. This is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk, your home of the Utes. When we come back, it is none other than the host of the show, Sean O'Connell. We'll catch you in a minute. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show. I am not Sean O'Connell. I am Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today, who is off on work assignment watching professional fights. But, I know, hold the phone. We have the host of the show, Sean O'Connell, joining us right now. Sean, welcome to your show. It's been a fun day. Of course, I miss you, but I appreciate you allowing me to drive the car today. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you holding it down and getting everybody ready for a big weekend of Utah football. It's a bummer that I've got these contractually obligated duties to call these fights this weekend and miss one of the 6 home games of the year, but I will be there in spirit.
Well, we appreciate your spirit and all that you are. Tell me a little bit about the fights. Where are you? What's going on? What are you covering?
Yeah, so we're in San Diego. Bellator Champion Series happening tomorrow night on Max, what used to be HBO. The Professional Fighters League acquired Bellator and the Bellator roster last year, and there was housekeeping left to be done. They had already obligated themselves to carrying out a bunch of fights for 2024, so that's the business we're taking care of. And a young man named Usman Nurmagomedov, who's the cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov, a lot of people's greatest lightweight of all time. His cousin is fighting in the main event, defending his Bellator title tomorrow night. He's 17-0 as a pro. He is an absolute monster and dedicated to keeping that undefeated record, which, of course, is what made his older cousin, who is now retired, so famous. He made it all the way to the top of the sport without even a single loss, and now the younger Nurmagomedov is trying to do the same thing. So some great fights on the undercard as well. But that is the main event. Usman Nurmagomedov, Alexander Shabliy. It is going to be an absolute banger, and I am excited to call the fight. I just wish it wasn't happening when Utah was hosting Baylor.
Yeah, that life gets in the way sometimes, and so when I call games, like I can watch a game, and I have a really good sense of what's going on with the play, with the defense. Just because I've lived it, I've watched it. I just am so comfortable with it, and I can see it so well. What types of things do you look for when you're covering a fight? And because I'd look at it and go, man, that guy's over there is getting killed, and that guy's doing a good job, or I couldn't tell you what's what. So what do you look for in a fight when you cover it?
Well, it's probably pretty similar to when you're watching football, right? I mean, I've competed in mixed martial arts at the highest level, and I did so for 12 years. So I know I've been in the gym even longer than that, training with some world-class guys, and feel like I've kind of seen it all and done it all, at least on some level. So I'm looking for the same things that all the other fans are, except I've experienced it myself. I know what it feels like to get taken down, to be in that particular, submission attempt. I know how to get your arm out of that arm lock and how to try to free your neck from one of those chokes. And obviously in the stand-up, which was more my specialty, I know what these guys are trying to set up by continuing to work behind their jab or to chop down that lead leg with kicks and things like that. So those are the stories we're trying to tell while the action is happening. And then, Of course, just like you guys do on the broadcast, you're trying to give a little context to it. If a fan tunes in, like let's say Scott Mitchell, who's not the hardcore MMA fan, if you tune in to a title fight on Max tomorrow night, and this young man is Usman Nurmagomedov. He's undefeated as a pro. He's one of a handful of guys who've made it to this level of the sport without a single loss. It's my job to kind of give you that context and to tell you how impressive that is, right, and to make you care. So it's really, really similar to being an announcer in any other sport.
Sean, you're making me care right now. I want to tune in. I don't even have Max. I'm going to get Max just so I can tune in. Do you as a fighter, or is there a game plan? Like, do you go and study film of your opponent or understand? And does it go out the window sometimes? You get in the fight and just go, man, this is a whole lot different than I expected, and we got to adjust on the fly here.
Well, Mike Tyson has the very famous quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that is very true. You always do come in with a game plan. Fighters in camps do vary some on how much film study they do, how much they worry about what the opponent is going to try to do versus just trying to master their own craft. There's different schools of thought on all that. But, yeah, you always go in with at least some idea of where you have the best percentage chance of winning. Like for me, it was always don't get taken down. Don't let a guy get on top of you and spend, minutes of the round there. If you get taken down, you got to figure out a way to get back up, things like that. So people play to their strengths. They try to shore up their weaknesses. And for the most part, the fighters who are better coached and who are better equipped to execute those game plans do find more success. But it is a pretty wild sport, and you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes you've got this idea that a guy's going to try and take you down, and for the whole fight, he just wants to box or wants to kickbox, and then you've got to be able to adjust on the fly.
Interesting. See, I think if I got punched in the face, I'd forget everything. I'd just start swinging away. I'd lose everything. I'd get so freaking mad. I don't know if I could keep my composure. And I haven't been in too many fights in my life, but I have been hit a couple of times playing basketball. So like pickup basketball. So it almost erupted into a bad situation, but yeah. I want to talk about the Baylor game, and I put up a poll question today. So I wanted people to have a chance to decide the philosophy, the kind of a little bit of the game plan for this Baylor game, because it's not a conference opponent, but it feels like it to me. Like it feels like this is more than refining and prepping your team. I think to me it feels a little bit like Utah needs to make a statement that like, okay, we're ready to play in the Big 12, and this is a Big 12 opponent, even though it's not counted as a conference opponent. But it's still a non-conference game. So my thought was, well, how much of your offense and your defense do you show in the game? So I put up the options as you just go vanilla, or you throw the kitchen sink at them. You like whatever it takes. We're gonna show you all our exotic blitzes. We're gonna come out with triple reverses. We're gonna throw the kitchen sink at you, or we just kind of do what it takes to win the game. Kind of go with a balanced attack. So if you're picking one of those three options, which one would you, Sean O'Connell, pick for this game for Utah against Baylor?
Probably the third. Give them the balanced attack. You're not trying to dumb things down because this is a conference opponent. They can be very dangerous for you, even if it is technically a non-conference game. I mean, these are the athletes that you have to get used to competing with in the Big 12 conference. Baylor's got some dudes who would start at any school in the Big 12. They've got some dudes who would start probably this year at the University of Utah. So you have to take that into account, and you have to be prepared to play hard. But I don't think that this is, a top flight Big 12 opponent. So you probably don't have to pull out all the stops. You probably don't have to show the trick plays. You don't have to throw the kitchen sink at them. You don't have to bust out the special formation on either offense or on defense. But I think you can run your playbook, and you can run your balanced offense, and you can probably give it, like a 50% of your blitz package on defense. And look, let's not forget you're breaking in a new starting corner this week after Kenan Johnson went down. So you got to be able to compensate for that. And that means you probably are going to make sure that you get a little extra safety help on that side. So I think that you take it very seriously and you don't dumb it down deliberately, but you're not giving it everything like you will on the road in Stillwater either.
A lot of names have come up as the potential replacement for Kenan Johnson at the corner position. Based on your knowledge and insight and expertise, who do you think should be the guy?
Look, Scooby Davis came in last week and in a bad situation, played very well. I don't know what his practice week was like, but until he does something to lose that, I mean, you got to give him the opportunity because we do it all the time. We talk about it's next man up. It's next man up. When you have that opportunity, make the best of that opportunity. He did exactly that. He pulled down the interception in the game. We know it's not an elite level of competition against Southern Utah, and that he was playing against backups when he got that interception. But to my knowledge, and I didn't study the film like Morgan Scalley and Sharif Shaw do, but to my knowledge, he played a really, really solid game in relief of an injured player when he probably didn't expect to get that many reps in week one. So until he screws things up or until he does things that prove to you he's not the guy, I think you got to give him that opportunity because in a bad situation, he played well.
as we move into the weekend. What grievances would you like to air today to the folks out in Radio Land?
Okay, I only have one for you, and I've been sitting on it since Tuesday, and this is something that just eats at me when it happens in any sport, in any place, and it happened in week 1 of college football. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm just going to get this one off my chest.
Please do. I'm sitting here with you.
There was a Sun Belt Conference football game that ended. It was Central Arkansas and Arkansas State. There was a pass that was called incomplete on the field. They went to the booth review. They overturned it. It became complete, and then it changed the outcome of the game, okay? From the 7-yard line, scoring pass, lead change. I mean, it completely altered the outcome of a game, which completely alters the betting situation, which completely alters the season for Central Arkansas and for Arkansas State. I mean, this was an important deciding type play. And the referees went to instant replay, overturned the call on the field based on that. Now, there was a lot of protest to it because different angles showed different things. And then the Sun Belt Conference on Tuesday, after it's already done, after the dust has settled, comes out, Scott, and they said, actually, the call was wrong. It should have been called the other way. I cannot stand when this happens. I hate when they do it in basketball. I hate when they do it in football because you're already so mad as a fan base, and you're already so upset as the person who lost their money if you bet on this game. And then somebody comes out and says, well, actually, you were right, and we should have called it the other way. But there's nothing to do with your emotional spend to the actual money. I would just rather yell at the clouds for the rest of my life and not have an official statement saying, yes, we were wrong, but it doesn't change your life at all. Can't stand it.
It's a great one. Coach Shula, when he was on the competition committee when I played for the Dolphins, he was on there for years. And on Monday afternoon, we'd get a sheet from the NFL. The league would send out a sheet. And we were in this planning meeting for the next week, so we'd watch the game film. We're all sitting. So it's just quarterbacks and Coach Shula and the offensive coordinator. And Shula come in the meeting every week, and he'd read like the 8 plays that the officials missed in the game. And he goes, why do they let me know this? He goes, it's the most aggravating thing in the world. It's like there's nothing I can do about it now. And they have whatever reason to just say, hey, sorry, our bad, we missed those plays. And it would happen every single week. And there was nothing we can do about it. And it's the great and frustrating thing that we love about sports and we love about football is it's just real life. You know, it's so raw, it's so unpredictable, it's so difficult. And I hate that. I hate that worse than anything. The thing that I hate, here's my grievance, okay, is officiating crews who call an obsessive amount of holding penalties. And there was always a crew you would have every year, and you'd show up to the game, you get on the field, and you're like, and you just roll your eyes. You go, oh, we got these guys. Like, we all might as well just back it up, you know, because these guys are going to call 100 holding penalties. And it felt that way a little bit last night. Now, there were a couple. Clearly, they were obvious. But I think some of these officiating crews can just get a little bit overzealous in their holding calls. Now, Lamar Jackson, he feels like likely the wide receiver was actually in on that last play, and I think the wide receiver is going to get smaller shoes next week. So it's those little things you got to do, right?
Yeah, you talk about game of inches. That's a perfect illustration. I mean, that your toe is an inch too long in that particular game, and what a wild start to the NFL season. And that's why you're right. That's why we love the sport, because there's so many different factors that all weigh in. And we're going to be talking about it until there's more NFL games, you know, this weekend.
Yeah, we got some good ones. All right, Sean, we're going to wrap this thing up here in a minute. Really appreciate you coming on your own show, and thanks again for letting me have it. Good conversation. Best of luck to you out in San Diego, and we'll chat soon.
All right, have a great call on the game tomorrow. Go Utes. Thanks, Scott.
All right, thanks. All right, there you have it, Sean O'Connell, the host of this show. He's out. Fascinating stuff. That professional boxing, mixed martial arts is just beyond my comprehension. I don't know how people beat each other up, but Sean does a great job with it, and great job on his show here. Well, let's see. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back and wrap this thing up. I think we have some topical trivia in my final thoughts of the day, this is the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk.
First and 20 for Utah. They throw the screen out here to Keithy on the near sideline. He's beyond the 30. Keithy stays on his feet and gets beyond the 35 to the 36-yard line. So he picks up a good chunk of yards on that play. Picks up about 10. Not a bad run that time by Keithy after the catch. Almost the 37-yard line. Second down and 14 coming up for Keithy and the Utah offense. And again, not settling for the run, Scott.
Utah spread it out, and you watch this USC defense, and they've got to play it more honest, and guys are open and guys are making plays.
2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. Pledge of the back of the backfield with Cam Rising. Here we go. Handoff. TJ play. Oh, fumble. Ball's on the turf. Did Rising fall on it? I think he did.
Ruling is a fumble recovered by the offense. Second down.
That was a zone read, and Cam got caught in between the run and the handoff, and luckily he was able to fall on the football. They actually fell forward and picked up about a yard and a half, 2 yards, so 3rd down and 12 coming up here for Utah.
Yeah, and he really, Cam really should have handed the ball off.
Pledge would still be running.
Yeah, he just the end was out, and he just should have handed the ball, and he didn't. And maybe tried to do a little bit too much right there.
So 3rd down and 12 here for Utah. They've got to get to right at midfield. Rising, backpedals to pass. 4-man rush here for USC. Cam's going to try and run away from it, and he's going to be sacked. He took off really early there. I think he saw everybody running the other way and thought he could pick it up with his legs. But Tuipulotu grabbed him and sacked him, and that'll bring up 4th down.
Sometimes when you're in the pocket, it'll feel like it opens up to the inside, and you got to let the rush come around you even more. If he's going to do that, he's got to be a little bit more
Number
patient.
19 is now wearing number 96.
So Cam Peasley on the punt. Gary Bryant stands at his own 16-yard line, awaits this Peasley punt. Let's see if SC comes after it. They will. Here they come. Kick is nearly blocked. Good spiraling kick away. Bryant will take it at the 19. And he'll be taken down back at the 15-yard.
All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show. Scott Mitchell here filling in for Sean today. We are at Smith's on 9th and 9th. Come down, check it out. We're going to be here for just a few more minutes, but the store will be here after we leave, and it's a good thing because it's a great store. They have all your great needs for all your tailgating this weekend. Lots of football going on. Whatever you need. I'm in the healthy section. I'm in the produce section. If you want produce, come and get it. They got great fresh produce. Of course, they got all the bad stuff too that you like in your tailgate stuff. It's not bad. It's just really good for you. Just, do it all in some moderation. Also, amazing samples. Get your samples here at Smith's and your Ute fan gear. They have a store here actually, so you don't miss anything. And of course, if you like beverages to help your weekend move along, they have those as well. All right, very quickly before we step out here, we've got our topical trivia. Of course, you win 2 tickets to Dan and Shay on September. What do they do? Do they text in, James? Is that how they win, or how does that work? Or are they calling? What?
You can text us. Text in at 877-353-0700, our Dish Pros text line. Text the answer to this question to win those Dan and Shay tickets.
All right, here's the question. During the show, I mentioned a football coach that required all of his other coaches to stand behind him on the sideline. If you can name the name of that coach, you are going to be the winner of 2 tickets to Dan and Shay at the U First Credit Union Amphitheater on September 20th. Today's show is brought to you by Bolt Skin and Shave, the first brand for men who shave their legs. This Utah brand is leading a new revolution in men's grooming with a full suite of shave products from their 5-blade performance razor. Visit boltshave.com. All right, before we go out, my good friend Rusty Keys, of course, he's the biggest I think Rusty's a Ute fan. He better be. But he's definitely a Kansas City Chief fan. Of course, he's one of the DJs over at FM 100.3. Love Rusty. Got to know him through the years, and he's a good dude. And he said, we are not talking enough about the Chiefs, so we need more Chiefs conversation in the program. Well, gosh, I'm all out of time, so I can't talk about the Chiefs. I'm kidding, Rusty. I kid. Look, what's going to be fascinating this year if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and that is everybody's gunning for you, and it's so hard to repeat, which they've done, and now can they repeat again? I think they can. I think they got the defense to do it. They certainly have Patrick Mahomes, and it looks like they've got some explosive guys on their defense, and of course, tomorrow you have your Utes and my Utes and everyone's Utes playing Baylor, the Baylor Bears. It starts at 1:30. Of course, we have the pregame at 9:30, which starts here on ESPN 700, goes all the way up to the kickoff, and then of course the game is broadcast here on ESPN 700. Also, it's you can get it on the ESPN 700 app as well. So very cool thing. Hey, I wanted to tell you something, James. Also, I'm starting a new sports streaming show that actually will be on the ESPN 700 app. It's called The Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. Get your minds out of the gutter. It's a sports show. I don't know what you were thinking, James, but we're going to give you the down and dirty on sports.
I only think about sports, so I don't know what you're talking about.
That's good. Me too. Anyway, so a lot of fun. That's going to be here on the ESPN 700 app. So a lot of really fun and exciting things to happen.
And you know what's been fun today, Scott? It's been fun having you doing a solo show today, man. Great job today.
I appreciate it.
I was thinking about this. I don't know if you've done a ton of solo shows. Have you? You've usually had a co-host, right?
Usually had a co-host. There have been shows I have done on my own, so not the first time I've done this. I love to do it. I'm more than happy to do it. But it's also nice to have you along for the ride. You've been great. You're always great to me, and really appreciate everything you've done. And of course, we appreciate Sean and his all that he does on the show. And I really think the world of Sean. I think he's one of the best in the business. So it's been fun, and all the people there over at Broadway and ESPN 700.
And this certainly won't be the last we hear from you. You're on twice a week on both shows. Here on the Sean O'Connell Show when OC is in, and then with the Drive with Spence Checketts. And also you'll be. I think the next one we'll have you doing solo is going to be before the Arizona game. At another Smith's tailgate.
Do another
remote,
Smith's, which will be a lot of fun. A
few weeks away.
I'm around and happy to be around, so really appreciate all of it. All right, can we call it a day today, or do you have anything else you'd like
absolutely.
to add?
Just one more time, NFL fans, tune in tonight. We've got it, and we've been saying it wrong all day. I just realized it's my bad. They're in Sao Paulo, not Rio tonight.
Oh,
we've been saying Rio, so that's my bad. I'll take the L on that one. It's Britton Covey and the Eagles versus Jordan Love and the Packers.
I think Britton
in Sao
actually
Paulo.
speaks Portuguese. He might. I think he went somewhere, maybe on his mission down there. So he's probably chatting with all the people.
Yeah, tune in at 6 after the drive.
All right, perfect. Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in today. Great weekend of sports. Don't miss a bit of it because it's wonderful. I'm Scott Mitchell. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. This is ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk, and, of course, your home of the Utes.